You've found yourself at the junction where worlds meet. Politics.
Civility? How about honesty in this country, folks?
Entertainment.
I don't like entertainment.
And a whole bunch of other stuff.
It's about having a healthy body image. You have a very unhealthy body. You should have a horrible body image.
Not a big home improvement market in Detroit.
We are definitely going to get letters.
You're listening to Talk Radio's Strangest Animal.
You're a strange animal, that's what I know.
You're getting louder with Crowder.
But you're a strange animal, I got to...
This week marks the second show in June, which is officially Louder with Crowder's Cultural Appropriation Month, where we take you across the globe to experience and appreciate all the great cultures this world has to offer. This week, the mystical, age-old culture of China. With you. You know what that sound is? That's the sound of the weekend. I don't know. I'm going to get my headphones on. I got to go behind this.
I'll be honest, this is second weekend, and I have yet to think about how to accommodate the old cans.
This is a disaster.
This is a disaster.
For people listening terrestrial, we've gone all out with Cultural Appropriation Month, and it's a little hard. It's a little hard to pull off. I also just realized I just maybe appeared online, nude.
Well, that's a treat for everybody.
China this year, this month, this week, Cultural Appropriation Month. Also, for reference, Not Gay Jared was the one who decided to dress up the way he has as a geisha.
I'm very committed to the role of what I do.
So,
my job.
Glad to be with you. This week, lots has happened. Producing with me in video studio, as always, is Not Gay Jared. He is not gay. Follow him at Not Gay Jared. I fulfill my legal obligation. Draw your own conclusions. Of course, thank you to all of our wonderful affiliates. We're live streaming again on YouTube tonight. Not the Book of the Faces. Are you
Not
okay?
the Book of the Faces.
Are you just having trouble holding your headphones on?
There's just no way to accommodate this. How do these people do this? That's why they invented the earbuds.
For the Chinese?
It all comes together now.
Well,
yeah.
it's so funny you should bring that up because I have some interesting facts about China.
I would love
cultural
to
appropriation,
know.
we are going to appreciate many cultures this month. So, we are not live streaming on Facebook this week, but first off, great guests. Tommy Robinson, most hated man in Europe. We have him on today. We have American Ninja Warrior's Matt Iseman, closeted conservative. He asked me not to disclose his politics. He's a conservative. So there you go. He's going to get fired by NBC for coming on the show. But he's a big fan of Courtney Kirchhoff, and of course, Courtney Kirchhoff. We'll be on to talk about just happened, the California court on concealed carry. AR15.com, one of our wonderful sponsors. Thank you so much. Courtney Kirchhoff is a big fan of the ARFCOM. And a big fan of the AR-15, I think, has ordered some from you guys.
Yep.
So we're excited. We have a lot to get to this week. Of course, the big issue is the rape scandal over there with Stanford. You look immensely uncomfortable, Not Gay Jared.
This is the worst. This is the worst.
Is it worse than drowning a female baby on camera?
I'm going to go on record saying yeah.
Do you know why we do this, folks? I'm sure we'll see. Someone else will be doing this probably next week, this exact bit. To inoculate ourselves. Because if ever I run for president, people can say, did you in fact dress up as a Chinese man and drown a female baby? Yes.
Yes.
Now let's get to
live.
the issues.
Not even behind the scenes.
Well, hold on a second. It's just a doll.
Oh.
It's not a real baby.
I am relieved.
But that brings us to information on China. A little known fact: they drown female babies because they only want sons. So let me give you some facts here on China. We're going to talk about a lot of issues, get to our guests, but in the first segment, because it's Cultural Appropriation Month, we want to appreciate, of course, all of the wonderful cultures. China facts. China executes more people than any other country in the world. Well, that's good. That means they're efficient.
They get things done over there.
A lot that we can learn from China. Oh, I like the glasses with that combination.
Like it?
It's kind of like the other woman. Take them off. Put them back on. Ooh. Oh, okay. Here's something else about China that you may not know. Mystical culture. Lots of medicine from China. Of course, none of it works, but they do develop a lot of medicine. They have a lot of Chinese herbal medicine. Air pollution is so bad that breathing Beijing's air does much more damage to the lungs as smoking 40 cigarettes in one day.
That's crazy. You know, I've actually known people who lived in Beijing. And
Really?
They say, yeah, it's terrible.
Are they still alive?
Let me call them. 'Cause I don't know.
Let's not do that right now. You're gonna have to wipe all that off, by the way, for our first guest, Tommy Robinson. I don't know how quickly you can do that.
I brought a hose.
We have about a 3-minute commercial break there. This is unbelievable. You know what? You've heard crazy delicacies in China. There are a lot of delicacies, cultural differences. I probably wouldn't be a huge fan of dog, but this seems interesting. Virgin boy eggs is a Chinese delicacy.
Virgin boy egg.
It's as delicious as it sounds. They're eggs soaked in urine of virgin boys.
Does the urine of a virgin boy
I don't know.
really just add the extra?
These are not people who are going to be conquering the world economy anytime soon. When people say it, I don't believe it. I don't believe it. Another one, China. They now abolished the one-child policy. Is responsible for over 400 million prevented births, as they put it. And that, of course, is what leads to them drowning girls, because in China, women are less valuable. Men are the ones who work. They bring home the bacon. And so if they can only have one child, they want it to be a boy. Mm-hmm. And so you end up it ends up being like Match.com, where you have a very severe...
Seems like a place where trannies would really make sense.
In China?
Yeah.
Out of necessity.
Out of necessity to survive.
It's all about intent. It's not gay if it's just okay. I don't want to get into more here. I have some this was from Casey
It's like a dark
Burnett, who sent us some. And this can go into a really dark place really quickly with the Chinese facts. We want to appreciate it. We love China. Oh, gosh. Want to appreciate it. Thank you, China. You are a lawless...
Was that a nip slip I just
That
saw
was a
in
nip
there?
slip. You are a lawless, godless people, China.
Little tasteful side boob going on
A
there?
little tasteful side boob. For people who aren't watching live, you are missing a show. You are missing a show. This week, Muhammad Ali passed away. That's sad. And, we posted something where Muhammad Ali's thoughts on God. And it's sad that when we posted something, we just tried to post something positive. People gave us a lot of crap about Muhammad Ali. Listen, I want to clarify something because I've gotten a lot of hate mail. It's not lost on me that Muhammad Ali was a black supremacist. Okay? It's not lost on me that he became a Muslim and he was really wrong on a lot of issues, that he was a draft dodger. That's not lost on me. However... the guy has still contributed, and I also think George Foreman, I think Larry Holman's better fighters. But the guy contributed to American culture in a way that very few athletes have. I also like Joe Frazier better. Joe Louis, I think, is someone who was, they saw him as a house Negro because people really liked him and he was polite and he was a people's champion. Long before Muhammad Ali, white people loved Joe Louis. So it's not lost on me that, not a guy I would have a lot in common with, but every now and then, listen, you have to acknowledge a guy who contributed a lot to American culture. People grew up with him. And one thing, too, I do think, we'll probably get this clip up later, where Muhammad Ali was really against race mixing. Now, whether you agree with that or not, I know I'm going to catch flack. I don't really care, personally. I've dated black women. I married a white woman. But the last girl I dated in a long-term relationship was Ethiopian. I told you I offended her because of the Ethiopian restaurant, and I made fun of it. By the way, Africa, the continent of Africa, we're just encompassing all of it, is going to be up in Cultural Appropriation Month. But Muhammad Ali said, there ain't nothing with staying with your own kind, and I don't think that you want to have no grandchildren who look like me, just like I don't want to have no grandchildren who look like you. It ain't nothing wrong with wanting to stick with your own kind. He didn't believe in interracial marriage, relationships. So it is interesting that the left ignored that because...
Was that a black schoolhouse bill?
I have no idea what it was. I don't do a Muhammad Ali impression. The point is, if Donald Trump said it, it would be stop the presses.
Sure.
And no one wanted to talk about it with Muhammad Ali. So listen, I believe in honoring people who, for the things for which they deserve to be honored. Muhammad Ali doesn't deserve to be honored for draft dodging. Muhammad Ali doesn't deserve to be honored for his views on white people necessarily. But Muhammad Ali deserves to be honored for becoming the greatest fighter at that point on planet Earth, and did a lot for the United States. So I hope people understand that. Because it's not lost on me. Sometimes people are like, unless you say everything that all the people want to say, people get mad and they send you an email, but I think this about Muhammad. Great, go start your own podcast. I don't really care.
Yeah.
I do care, but we can't be all the things to all the people all the time.
I've always had kind of a philosophy of eat the fish, spit out the bones kind of thing with different people. Especially, you have to have that with all these actors and celebrities who have...
Right.
You can appreciate what they do without appreciating everything they say and do.
It changes if they go into political activism where they're actually... Like, there's a brewery that I won't go to because they actually were taking proceeds, ironically enough, from a capitalist system brewery and giving it to a Bernie campaign. And I was like, you know what? I can't go there because I don't directly want to be supporting a socialist.
The beer's not that great anyways.
You know the brewery I'm talking about. It shall remain nameless.
It shall remain nameless.
Like the God of many faces has no name. Let me update you on Mashable. Before we get to news of the week, I want to update you on all of this. We're going to have some pretty big things. I'm going to do a piece-by-piece rebuttal after Tommy Robinson on the Lena Dunham rape situation with Stanford in this video that they've released, which is the 1 in 5 women are sexually assaulted. Spoiler alert, it's a myth. It's not true. It's never been true. I'll entirely debunk it later on, but we need a little bit more time to do that, and we had to go through this whole charade, so we'll do it after Tommy Robinson.
This was better.
Right.
This was better.
But the Mashable situation. So, we weren't able to live stream. Those of you who are listening terrestrially, we are live streaming now, video streaming. And of course, listen, wherever you're listening, subscribe to the podcast on iTunes or SoundCloud. Please rate it. Give it a high star rating. Everything we do is free. We just ask that you subscribe and support it. And we're going to be doing more. It would be wonderful if we went daily, wouldn't we? But it will never happen. Don't try and force my hand. It will never happen. Mashable. They filed a BS copyright claim. We released a video about it. We told you what was happening, and so we directed you to Facebook. There's a silver lining, because now we'll be streaming to all of the above. We filed a counterclaim. So I had a lawyer. It was expensive. Bill Richmond came on. He cuts his deals, but he's a really good, qualified lawyer. And we won. We invited Mashable to meet us in court. We welcomed it. We said, no, this is a false claim. Come meet us in court. And they wet themselves, tucked tail, and left. So, but this is what people, even certain presidential candidates, people who just use the court, who just use lawyers, who just use claims, they try and bog you down. And they're constantly trying to bog our channel down, our Facebook page down, because yes, we always win. We've won every single claim. We've had dozens, except for one, which we could fight, but we've chosen not to. It was the Trigglypuff theme song. We always win, but it ties you up for several weeks. And that's what leftists do. That's what a frivolous lawsuit or a frivolous claim is. So that's a big win. We're happy to tell you about it. We'll tell you more about it, but just go to louderwithcrowder.com, bookmark it so we don't lose touch. We're always going to keep this going for free. We have one more segment here. I'm going to get into a few things that I think we need to talk about before we get to Tommy Robinson. Louder with Crowder. Stay tuned, China.
Welcome to Wild at Large on the Nature Network, narrated by Jasper Pronk. Oh, the grizzly bear, one of nature's most beautiful creatures, and in one of its frequent twists of irony, also its most deadly. Weighing in at over, my lord, that grizzly bear is humongous. Are you seeing this?
Yes, just keep reading the lines, Jasper.
No, I mean really, I don't think I've ever seen a land mammal outside of the elephant, but they're non-aggressive. This animal is clearly a monster. I wonder what would happen if you put this grizzly bear in an arena with a male silverback gorilla.
I don't think that's legal, Jasper. Just keep going with the lines there.
No, I mean, we have some budget here at Wild at Large. I really think that if we could set that up, if we could work with the zoos and get a male grizzly bear and a silverback gorilla and just let them go to town, I really think that'd be something.
Damn it, Jasper, just do the lines.
Well, I sure think our viewers would get a kick out of it. Stay tuned for more Wild at Large on the Nature Network, narrated by Jasper Pronk.
Glad to be back.
That was smooth.
Sealing the fate on the end of our careers, in case there were any doubt. Louder with Crowder, Tommy Robinson after the break. I'm wondering what we should talk about here first, not Gay Jared, because we have a big thing prepped to rebut in real time the Lena Dunham rape scandal. But let me kind of update, for those of you who don't know, what's happened. The Stanford case of course, this rape. And people are really mad about the judge here. I have it up here on my screen. For a lenient judge here. Of course, Brock Allen Turner's a situation, rape at Stanford. I thought that maybe I had missed something regarding this case. Damn it. I thought that there was a pop-up ad on this site that we were using. I thought maybe I'd missed something because of everyone getting up in a bunch and the fighting going back and forth. This one seems pretty cut and dry. Guy was drunk. She was drunk. Wasn't consensual. Guy sexually assaulted a girl. Bad. Okay? Absolutely bad. Now, here's something that's important we'll get into later. The reason that this falls on deaf ears of what seems to be clearly a case of sexual assault is because of all the fake claims. And here's the fallout. Leftists are saying, well, he only got a light sentence because he was white. That this is a racial thing. This is white privilege. Almost invariably, when these rape cases come out, it's not Columbia girl, mattress girl, was fake. UVA scandal, fake. If we want to get into the race thing, Duke lacrosse team. Remember, black girl came forward, said it was a stripper, said she was gang raped. Fake. Ruined lives. So it is important. Listen, this is bad. This guy really seems like a scumbag, and his dad did not help the situation. And but if you look at the judge in this case, I've tried to do my due diligence here. I've been traveling all week, so I wanted to make sure that I hadn't missed something as to why there was so much controversy. The judge seems to be a remarkably fair judge. He doesn't seem to be a guy at all who's a racist or who would be lenient on a rapist simply because he's white. There doesn't seem to be any evidence of that here. It seems to be one of those cases where it comes down to provability. Both were intoxicated. What was the severity? And so a sentence was, and what are your prior infractions? And so a sentence was ruled. Now, is it the right one? You can argue maybe it is, maybe it isn't, but when people get into if he was black, he'd be behind bars forever, look, and you hear this stat, look how many young black boys are put behind bars. Well, first off, they're not just put behind bars out of nowhere. That's one of those most misleading statistics, kind of like the statistic that marijuana offenders. No. The reason black boys who go to jail for marijuana is often because they have several priors, and they're usually dealing in marijuana, just along usually with other illicit substances. People are not going to prison anywhere in this country. You're talking single-digit numbers that it occurs on a yearly basis. Single-digit numbers. At best, you can count on both hands of people who smoke a joint with no prior infractions and go to prison. It's not happening. So my issue with this is, guy's a scumbag. Yes. Why were people right away going, hold on, let's people were waiting for more facts, were waiting for more information? It's because Lena Dunham claimed to be raped. Right? We know that's false. Unless you're talking about her and her sister, that's sexual assault. The 1 in 5 in sexual assault number, we want to take time. We're going to take a longer segment after Tommy Robinson to go through this point by point, and I won't be doing it in this silly getup. This is the last you get to see of this Chinese getup. But it's not true, and it's so important, especially when dealing with something like sexual assault. Listen, men out there hate rape. We can't stand rape. None of us are fans of rape. We want to lock these guys up and throw away the key as well. But to say, or worse. But to say there's a rape culture and a guy's getting off because he's white and there's some secret patriarchy meeting where we're all agreeing, like, let's let these rapists off the hook. Not only is it a huge disservice to actual rape victims, but it's a huge disservice to to the vast majority of young men who don't have a voice in this, who always stand out against rape. When people say, why won't anyone stand out? Go on Twitter and look at men on Twitter or Facebook, anywhere. All of them, when there's a clear-cut case of rape. All of them, when I say I'm general, yeah, nearly all men are furious. It's also the same reason that men don't want men in dresses in the ladies' room. Because they understand that men are more sexually predatory by nature. And so you want to talk about rape culture? Again, it's just the politicization that really bothers me. There's not a whole lot here other than the fact that this guy was a scumbag. People were mad that the sentence wasn't enough. And this reaction, we're in a pressure cooker because of the left constantly using these opportunities to talk about rape culture and to tar and feather all men as want-to-be rapists, as Watanabe. I said want to be.
Watanabe.
We're so in character.
So, just consistently
I'm Daniel
character.
Day-Lewising this. If I have a daughter, guess what? She's in trouble.
I feel like a creepy Joker without the thing.
You do. You
It's
don't
just
look
like a
very
really
good without
bad.
It's very bizarre. Speaking of which, UN just placed Saudi Arabia on a list of human rights places to blacklist.
Oh, okay.
So we're talking about human rights, and next week we'll have Annie Cyrus on, who was sold into being a child bride and beaten and raped her whole life as a young Muslim. So again, I just really hate the politicization and not giving a voice to those who really should be given a voice. This is a horrible story. It really seems like, and the guy was saying, blaming it all on the alcohol, and there is, I understand the point of people saying, well, if you're both intoxicated, why is it rape? Well, if you're both intoxicated, but one clearly doesn't consent, that's not the same as drunken sex, right? We want to be clear with that, with the people who go too far the other way. You can both be drunk, and one can still be a rapist. But two people consuming alcohol, as feminists want, does not make only the man a rapist. Again, this is why it's so important, right? People go, well, what's the gray area? The only reason there's a gray area is because feminists have pushed and leftists have pushed on campus as it's one of the foundational rules of rape culture that if people are intoxicated, it's automatically rape, but only for the guy. If a man and a woman are drunk and they have sex on campus, the man is a rapist. That's what they've been pushing. That's what Lena Dunham pushed. That's what she used to justify what she claimed to be rape. So when you say if both people are drunk and they have sex, it's always rape, well, then a story comes out here where the guy was wasted, the girl was wasted, but it clearly seems like he took advantage of her where she didn't consent, and so it's rape. But guess what? If both of them were wasted and they both consented, feminists and leftists would be just as outraged anyway. They believe that they're the same. Two drunken people having sex is just as bad as two drunken people with one raping the other, because it's all rape. As they teach in gender studies, P and V, all penis and vagina that a woman doesn't like or regrets or occurs if they're both slightly buzzed is rape. That's what's so important here. This story, if it came out 20 years ago, everyone would say, what a scumbag. At the very least, wow, what a dirtbag. And we would have moved on. The reason we're here, and you have anyone pushing back the other way at all, is because of the lies that have been pushed for political convenience, for political expediency. And of course, like we talked about, go back to the first podcasts over a year ago where we said, watch, everything's going to pivot from race, everything's going to be gender and rape and sexism, paving the way for Hillary Clinton. Well, you've made your bed. Now people are getting raped in it. Tommy Robinson after the break. Stay tuned.
Hey, Steven, what are you doing?
I'm just browsing AR15.com.
You mean the site about the scary black rifle with the best prices, community, and information on the web?
Oh, what the hell's the difference?
AR15.com! Kaboo! AR15.com! Kaboo! AR15.com! Kaboo!
You know, they just heard the 3 takes. You did 3 takes, you didn't edit it. They can hear you.
Kaboo!
This is breaking news on Louder with Crowder. I'm Perry Matheson. In the wake of it being revealed that the scandals and allegations surrounding Hopper running for president were false, and with Sheldon Acornson now facing a 20-year sentence in a federal penitentiary for money laundering and perjury, we take you now live to Hopper's press conference announcing the relaunch of his campaign.
Greetings, America. I have been moved, inspired, and humbled by your continued support in the wake of this tragedy for my campaign. Sometimes it is darkest just before the dawn. And in this case, I am back and better than ever and with a renewed vigor to deliver on my campaign promises for a fair America. And no more politics as usual. And in every household, some cheeses. Because what God had created, that no squirrel teareth under.
We'll keep you abreast as this press conference unfolds. For Louder with Crowder, I'm Perry Matheson.
Glad to be back. Glad to have our first guest of the program. Okay, really, I'm excited here. I've followed this guy. Or if I haven't followed him directly, I've known the stories, the folklore about this man for a long time. When we said that we were going to have him on, people immediately responded on Twitter. He is Europe's most hated man. You can read
That's a guy you want on your show.
That's a guy you want on the program. You can read his book, Enemy of the State. You can buy it online. Go to his website, tommyrobinson.co.uk. And they do it differently over there in Europe. They don't just do .com. They have to do everything more complexly. Tommy Robinson, thanks for being with us, brother.
Thanks for having me on.
I'm so glad to have you on, not only because of you, but because of how emblematic it is with this civil unrest in Europe, where freedom of speech was not a thing. You know, I was raised in Canada. It's now kind of a uniquely American ideal. You've gotten into flack for so many things, namely Islam. that's kind of to be expected, but what was the backlash like for you when you started speaking out against Islam, and what surprised you? Because obviously it was bigger than most people who just say, it kind of sucks.
I grew up believing I lived in a certain country that had certain values, that we had freedom of speech, that we had freedom to assemble. I thought that. That was the country I thought I lived in. In 2009, when I first attempted to speak out, well, I first attempted in 2004 talking out against Islam, but I learned very quickly from 2009 when I formed the United People of Luton and then the English Defence League, I learned that that's a facade. We don't have free speech. We only think we have free speech. And when I started talking out against Islam, first of all, I started in 2004, which was I organised my first demonstration called Ban the Luton Taliban. For anyone who doesn't know me, I'm from a town in the UK called Luton. It's one of the most diverse and multicultural towns in Europe. It's 30 miles out of London. It was the place where the 7/7 bombers picked up their bombs, the fertiliser bomb plot, the Stockholm bomber, Al-Mujahideen, which is Omar Bakri, Abu Hamza. Their head office was based in my town. Are there a lot of strip clubs there? Because these terrorists seem to gravitate toward the strip clubs before they go full terrorist. Usually, well, that's the thing, that they're all in the nightclubs, the Muslims. But the mad thing is, I think Al-Qaeda's main bomb operative in Europe was a taxi driver from Luton. This is how. So growing up in this town, I've watched my whole life. I've seen the decay of the town. I've seen the two-tier policing. I've seen the favourable treatment. And I've basically seen that we've had a cancer that no one has tackled or spoke about. And it's grown, and it's grown, and it's grown. Until we got to 2009, where we had a soldiers' homecoming parade in my hometown, and we were there to pay respect to our armed forces. And that same group, Al-Mujahideen, who have been unchallenged by council, by police, by anybody, no one's tried to stop them.
Sure.
They recruited every Saturday in my town for the Taliban, for Al-Qaeda. They've had stalls, seminars.
Well, hold on one second. Let me ask, because I know we're going to have skeptics here say, well, they were probably like passing out Girl Scout cookies, and then there was a coupon for the Taliban in there. No one was openly recruiting for terrorist organizations. Was it veiled or was it blatant?
No, it wasn't veiled. Since the formation of the English Defence League, and there was a big backlash to it,
right.
They then more underground. But when you're going back to when I first started looking into this group in 2004, when I was 20 years old, you had the Beslan school massacre. I then watched as this group stood in Luton Town Centre and said an attack on an English school would be justified. I watched them myself. You can find the videos online. So I started listening, learning and reading in 2004 as a young lad, as a young man. I started trying to understand this group. I understand this group is what has now spawned into ISIS. This ideology is ISIS, yeah? I understood it in 2004. We were talking about it, we were highlighting it. Before they become, Al-Mujahideen are now a prescribed terrorist organisation. 60% of the Muslim prisoners in UK prison.
So I want to fast forward a little bit, just because I think people understand, terrorist recruiting, bad town, it was like The Burbs with Tom Hanks, but way worse. They're horrible neighbors from hell. You end up in jail or prison. How does that happen? What was the tipping point for you in prison? And I was reading about them putting you in with Islamic inmates who tried to kill you. I don't want to misrepresent that, so I'll let you explain it so I don't botch it. But what takes you from there to prison, and what was that like?
From there, so I fully understood when I take on Islam, when I speak out against Islam. I shook my cousin's hand because we'd done it together, and we agreed we're in this till the death now. Once we start this, there's no backing out. So we shook hands. And then we started talking. I was all ready for the violence from Muslims. I understood what was going to happen to me.
It's a given.
What I wasn't ready for, and what shocked me, and what I still can't comprehend, is the fact that the state supported, attacked, persecuted my family, my wife, my mother. They kicked off our doors. They come in with machine guns. The level that I still can't even, until you read my full book and understand, the level that they went to shut me up, to silence me. Because a lot of the things we started bringing up and talking about were things they've conspired to keep us as secrets for 20 years, such as the rape jihad across the whole of our country, which has been, they now call it grooming in the UK, which is groups of Muslim men raping young English girls, which is happening.
That's the term they use, actually, for the Salon pedophile who we wrote about. They use the term grooming for young children when they molest young children.
Like you're cutting a dog's hair or something.
Yeah, it's creepy. Right. So, but what would they say the reason was? Obviously, they would say, the government would say, well, no, it wasn't because of speech. It was because of, how did they justify coming in on Nana with assault rifles?
So what they did, so anyone who's in your country, I don't know if you've heard of the Rotherham scandal. There was a scandal in Rotherham where in this one small town in the north of England, 1,400 girls are documented to have been sexually exploited and groomed and raped by Muslim men. Yeah,
right.
This is in an area called South Yorkshire. What South Yorkshire Police did is, this was before this scandal had broke. We were talking about it, and it hadn't been in the newspapers, it hadn't been in the media. I went to Luton Airport. I was arrested by Special Branch. They then executed warrants at my wife's house and at my mother and father's house. They had sent 15 officers to each house. The crime they come in for was criminal damage. No joke, criminal damage. They seized all my computers, all my phones. When they give me bail conditions, my bail date was to coincide with a date that I was due to be talking in South Yorkshire at a demonstration about grooming. My bail conditions were not to contact 3 or more English Defence League supporters. So straight away, this is politically motivated. From the start, I knew it was. What they then did is 3 weeks later, they dropped all the charges. Now, I put in a complaint through the IPCC, which is the Independent Police Complaints Commission. What it turned out, before this, at that arrest, that they had a statement from the hotel manager. I was arrested for £30, $50 worth of criminal damage on a hotel room door. They had a statement from the manager of the hotel clearly stating before they raided me, they had nothing to do with me.
Right.
So they fabricated this.
Well, not only that, but no one goes to. I mean, you have rock stars who don't go to jail where, God forbid, you run a black light over the hotel room when they're done with it. They've been completely trashed.
Well, I went to jail this was the first incident. Then they come through 3 months later. They arrested my wife. They arrested me on tax irregularities, money laundering. They went through my entire life. They basically got every one of my files, not just mine,
right.
My mother's, my father's, my wife's, her brother, my cousin, my aunt, my whole family. And they took the whole family's finances to pieces. They went back 10 years.
So is that the main reason when you were imprisoned was tax? Is that what they used, kind of an Al Capone thing?
Yeah, they went full Al Capone.
In the end, no, I got not guilty on tax. I walked on tax.
Okay, so we don't have too much. What put you in the slammer?
In the slammer for lending. I lent my brother-in-law £20,000. You know mortgage forms. Yeah. So in the UK we had self-certification mortgages. So you put down enough of a deposit and you get a mortgage, and they ask you how much you earn. And if he earned £10,000 a year, and on the form he put £20,000. He got a mortgage. This is in 2008. He got a mortgage. He owned the house for 9 months and he sold the property. Yeah, I lent him the deposit. That's what I went to prison for.
Because your brother claimed he made more than he did.
He claimed when he got the mortgage, but the mortgage company were paid back. The mortgage company lost
No,
money.
I know. I just want to I get it. So that's what they nailed you for. Okay, so you're in jail or prison, and okay, is it true that they tried to put you in with Islamic inmates who tried to have a go at you? Not to laugh, but
there were 6 Muslims who got 30 years. They were caught with guns, IEDs, suicide notes. They were on their way to kill us. They were on their way to target me, to kill us. And they were intercepted, and there was a big court case. They got 30 years. I then go to prison for this minor paper offence, which in the UK you should go to an open prison. They took me to maximum security Wood Hill Prison, HMP Wood Hill, which it holds some of the country's most feared terrorists.
Right.
On my first day in there, when I was on the induction day, my door opened, and it was an ex-Royal Marine who is a prison officer, and he said, when they come to get you from this cell, do not leave this cell, your life depends on it. And I said, what? And he said, I'm telling you, do not leave this cell, your life depends on it. 20 minutes later, he's come back with 2 other prison officers, and he said, come on, you're going to B-Wing. And I'm not going anywhere. Yeah?
Right.
He said, then he says, if you don't, I'm going to arrest you.
Same guy.
Said, fine, arrest me. Yeah? So he arrested me. Now, he come back later and said, do you know where they were taking you? I said, where? He said, they were putting you with the 6 Muslims that are in here for planning to kill you. So
that guy's your guardian angel, so to speak.
Yeah, he was. He saved my life. The very next day, I had a meeting with my solicitor in the prison. I went to the meeting with my solicitor, and then afterwards, I'm getting walked back by prison officers, and there's a waiting room. They open the door to the waiting room. I see the beard straight away, so I know what's happening. I don't know in America.
Well, they could be hipsters.
No, in the UK prisons, they are like ISIS training camps. Yeah,
well,
Islam has taken over the UK prisons, and they are radicalising an army of the most hardened and toughened men in the UK. That's what's happening.
Right. Well, now you understand why Guantanamo Bay is something I so avidly supported, and you have liberals here go, no, bring them on shore. We need them on shore. It's like, no, we don't want them.
Bring them to our prisons so they can radicalise all our weak and vulnerable youth.
Exactly. Well, that's the only place Islam grows. That's the biggest lie. It only grows through birth rates and in prison because, think about it, you're angry at the world and you're basically given an inherently violent ideology, and next thing you know, Mike Tyson's tattooing his face. Continue.
Yeah. And from that, so the door's open. I've seen the big beards, and I know what's going to happen. I don't even sit down. The door, and the prison officers locked me in the room. They locked the door, and I was beaten. But luckily, the 3 Muslims that were in the room, they didn't have any prior knowledge by the look of it that I was going to be there. If they did, they'd have had knives, they'd have had blades, and I'd have been properly. Instead, I lost my teeth, but that's not too bad because I've got these lovely teeth now. So
they look better than most teeth in the UK.
Well, I lost all these. So
they look good now.
I lost my teeth, I had my head glued up, and I was beaten to within an inch of my life. Simply, and that has not happened once in prison. The next time I went to the next prison, they put me on with a Somalian and 4 Muslims who had just cut someone's nose and ears off and murdered his friend.
That's what I read about.
They were doing 30 years, I was doing 8 days. They walked me into them.
Right.
So, but the lengths and the reasoning for these things is that people need to really understand how big the problem is in the UK,
right,
and that the government and the police have conspired to help Islamify our country, to silence the critics.
Why? What is their reasoning, though? Here's my question. So prison, and I want to get to why you're still doing what you're doing. A lot of people would give up. So, I mean, you have a brass pair, ultimate respect to you. But why is the UK government, why are they so vested in this? In just a couple phrases, why do you think they're so hardcore on this?
I think Saudi petrol dollar. I think most of them are bought. I think that many of them have got dirty hands. Many of them had dirty deals. Many of them, like the police who were targeting me in the early days from South Yorkshire, they have since been exposed as covering up the sexual rapes of 1,400 children.
Right.
Their commissioner had to resign straight away. So all these things were skeletons in their cupboards that they want to hide. Yeah.
Right.
We're coming, banging them on the streets in everyone's faces, talking about them. I was enemy number 1 for the state. And then when you look at the lengths, if you look at the money and finance that Saudi Arabia has in our country, something has to have happened for Sir William Gladstone, a 4-time Prime Minister of our country, to hold the Quran above his head in Parliament and say there will never be peace on this earth so long as we have this book. Yeah?
Right. Well, we have to go to a break. One of our evil corporate overlords, I want to bring you back and talk more about the macro. Tommy Robinson, enemy of the state at tommyrobinson.co.uk. Stay tuned for more. This is fascinating, Captain. Louder with Crowder.
This is breaking news on Louder with Crowder. I'm Perry Matheson. In the wake of crushing defeat in both popular vote and delegates this last week, Bernie Sanders has claimed that he will, no matter the results, continue to champion on with his campaign. We take you now live to a Bernie Sanders presser in progress.
Some people say we don't have the popular vote, or there's no mathematical equation to winning this primary. To them I say, winning a primary is a human right.
But Senator Sanders, what about the fact that it's mathematically impossible for you to win?
How much do you make, sir?
I don't know, I do okay.
He's part of the 1%! He's a plant! Get him!
Oh my, it seems like this election has no chance of slowing down, and in fact may be speeding up and heating up. What a scene down there at that Bernie Sanders rally. We'll keep you abreast as this story unfolds. I'm Perry Matheson.
You're a strange animal, that's what I know. But you're a strange animal, I got to follow. Oh, I'm in the speedy to
Glad to be back. Was fascinated hearing the life story of our guest, but I want to get to the macro and why this matters for everybody else out there. Because a lot of them just saying, "Well, I'm not going to go to prison. I'm not going to be shanked by an angry bearded Muslim.
I'm not going to grow a beard myself."
Let's get to the macro. Let's tell people why they care. TommyRobinson.co.uk has written the book "Enemy of the State." highly recommend it. Tommy, thanks for being back. So you were talking about money in politics. Listen, with Islam now, I mean, I've gotten a lot of flack from it just from speaking out from an entertainment commentary perspective. It seems to me in the UK it goes further than people on Twitter or on social media who are saying, it's mean, Islamophobia is mean, and social justice warriors. That can be ignorance and misguided compassion of stupid people. It would definitely seem that there's collusion in the UK. And you combine that with, you know, it's interesting that you said you thought you lived in a place where there was free speech. It's really actually never existed in Europe. A lot of people don't understand that, not the same way it's protected here. You combine that level of corruption with free speech isn't really a right, and you end up with what you've had. Do you see that getting worse, or do you see the pendulum swinging, I guess, publicly the other way?
It's going to get a lot worse. It's going to get... I think that the next coming probably 5 years could be the most pivotal in our country's history. We simply have a demographic in our country, a birth rate in our country of Muslims and immigration that will be unsustainable. It's going to be the country's changing. The Europe that people think they know, the UK that people think they know, who haven't been here for 15 years, that's changed already.
Right.
That's changed beyond recognition. And say, for example, if I look again, I'll bring everything back to Luton, my hometown. In my hometown 30 years ago, there was one mosque. Yeah? There's now 30 mosques. There's now 60,000 Muslims, 30% of the town. The government growth forecast, the demographic growth forecast by 2030, in the next 14 years, the Pakistani and Bangladeshi community are going to increase by 70 to 77%. Yeah?
Right.
That's the future.
Well, I want to make sure, too, that we clear one thing, because I was looking on, the name of your, was it English Defense League?
The English Defence League I formed, yeah.
English Defense League. There were black people in that group. There were Indian people who were concerned. I want to make sure that people understand it's not racially motivated. It is entirely ideologically motivated. The cancerous ideology that is Islam. A brown person who's not Muslim is entirely welcome to join the ranks, right?
Again, I'll bring it back to Luton again. My hometown of Luton, I'm a minority. I've been a minority growing up as an Englishman in my hometown. That hasn't bothered me. That hasn't bothered me. I've never experienced growing up in a completely white area. I haven't experienced that. My best friends and the people I love, my goddaughter, my best friends come from St. Lucia, Jamaica. They're sons of immigrants, whether they be Italian, whether they be Indian, Sikh, Hindu, Jewish. I don't care. That's never mattered. So the ethos that built the English Defence League was, I don't care if you come off the boat 2 weeks ago. You love this country, you love democracy, you love freedom, you're welcome.
Right.
Yeah? You're welcome. You wish to enforce a backward ideology, culture or Sharia on this country, you're not. Yeah? So we've always differentiated between the two.
I want to make sure that's clear, because a lot of people watch this, a lot of people listen to this show, and they'll try to say, oh, it's just racist. And that's what they do with Donald Trump and wanting to build a wall. No, hold on. It's not a racial thing, and you've made it clear. That's why I want people to read your writing in its context. It is ideological, and people need to understand that.
They need to understand, well, Islamism, Nazism, opposite sides of the same coin. I've had as many death threats from Nazis as I have of Muslim extremists.
They hate Jews just as much.
Pardon?
They hate Jews just as much.
Oh, they do, yeah, they do. It's never... Well, so do the far left, unfortunately, in the UK.
Why are you still there? Why are you still there? It seems like you should flee that place and get to...
No.
We need more people like you here. The last front for freedom is the United States. We need guys like you.
Oh, well, you won't let me in.
Oh, that's right. I'm sorry.
Yeah. I'll tell you...
I think Not Gay Jared has a spare den somewhere. He can hide you.
I keep hoping Donald Trump gets in, so I might have a chance of getting through your border. But, yeah, look, they... I don't know. Why am I still here? You know, people said I'm the most hated man, yeah? That's a facade also. I may be the most hated man by the Muslim community. I may be the most hated man by a minority of Marxist, communist, fascists, yeah? I may be the most hated man from them, but I don't receive a negative reception anywhere I go.
No.
Everyone shakes my hand. So they wish to portray this image that my beliefs are part of a minority belief and people don't support me. Well, I don't get any bad reception.
Well, that's my point. Demographics, like you said, are getting worse, but I think the public opinion now, people are willing to call Islam what it is. You have more people in support of you, whereas a few years ago, there weren't a lot of us out there. Okay, let me ask you this, because we don't have a ton of time in this segment. Point blank, did you, before all this, did you think that conservative Christian Tea Partiers in the United States were like dummies and racists? Honestly, I'm not going to condemn you, but were you one of those people who thought like, stupid hooligans in the U.S.?
No. No,
Okay.
never.
Okay, because a lot of people did, and I think now they're realizing because the right was always attacked as racist, Islamophobic, and now you're seeing people in the UK, if you're more right wing, you're still left in the United States. I mean, has this made you realize maybe a little bit? I've talked to people from Europe who go, I guess I never thought of that. I've always said multiculturalism sucks. People go, what do you mean? The United States is a melting pot. Because what you're talking about is a melting pot. It's not multiculturalism. You abandon the crappy culture, you bring the best of it, but you're English first. In the United States, you're American first. And we used to be called racists for saying that's the way it should be.
Yeah. Well, I always divide that. I always divide multiculturalism to say Islam has failed. Yeah?
Right.
Because I think when David Cameron says multiculturalism failed, when Angela Merkel says multiculturalism failed, I don't think for 1 second they're saying the Sikh community or the Hindu community have failed to integrate into the European cultures or communities, because they haven't. Yeah? It's just a cowardice, weak way of saying Islam's failed. Islam is going to continue to fail because fundamentally their fundamental beliefs stand in the opposition to freedom and democracy.
Regardless of terrorism, speech, treating women right, all of those things.
Everything from homosexuals, their views go against the. Do you know, like if I was in America, I think people would say my views are liberal. Yeah. But in the UK, I'm called far right.
Right.
I'm called far right, and I said, well, what have I ever said or done that's far right?
Well, you got your teeth kicked in by a bearded Muslim, and that's enough to join the club. Hey, listen.
I dare talk about Islam. And even I've been on shows before where I'm called a racist, and I say I've never said anything racist.
No.
It's completely used to silence us. It's completely used to slander us. And many people, I even see when the UK Independence Party come, Nigel Farage now gets the same treatment that I received.
Well, we have to go. Tommy, will you come back? We have to have you back another time, maybe even on for a full hour. We just didn't schedule this week. Thank you so much, brother. And I'm sorry to hear your story, and we have got your back. If anything we can do, TommyRobinson.co.uk, enemy of the state. I read the Cliff Notes. I'm definitely going to pick this one up. Thank you so much, Tommy. Louder with Crowder. Everybody else, stay tuned. Wow. This Week in Feminism. Clara, thanks for coming back. We're so grateful to have you, and thank you truly for choosing this job application firm. I did read through your resume, and I saw your concerns, and many women share your concern about equal pay, and we assure you here that we make sure that's the case, and people, regardless of gender, are paid fairly. And we truly think that we've come up with a solution with which you'll be incredibly happy.
Okay, I'm listening.
Well, there just so happen to be some positions here in Southern Florida available for roofing. Yes, it's very exciting. And truth be told, they don't have many women to fill these positions. So not only will you get a starting salary of $78,000, but we can expedite your process through the trade school and move you into a managerial position with great urgency. How's that sound, Clara?
Get excited. Here we go.
Glad to be back. Tommy Robinson.
Cool guy.
Tommy Robinson. Cool
Crazy
guy.
story. Crazy.
Crazy story. You wouldn't believe it unless you heard it from him. And we'll have to have him back. Gosh, can you imagine having your teeth knocked in?
No, but his new teeth look fantastic.
His new teeth look great.
That's something to be said.
Producing with me in video studio as always, is Not Gay Jared. Follow him at Not Gay Jared. I've fulfilled my legal obligations. Draw your own conclusions. We have a few things to get into here. We'll have Matt Iseman of American Ninja Warrior after the up on the half hour, because it's getting a little. We're going to get a little heavy tonight. So, gosh, we have so many topics. I want to get into the debunking this myth of the middle class and these politicians who are pandering, but I do think it's necessary to get into this whole rape culture situation. There was a video. So, let's set this. There was a video put out by, what's the name of the?
Now This.
And now this is Lena Dunham and the cast of Girls, and they are, of course, piggybacking off of the Stanford rape scandal to try and push their...
Buzz all your girlfriends. Woof.
Yes. They're piggybacking off of the rape scandal, as they always do, standing on the backs of rape victims to try and champion their cause. Now, there's nothing wrong with championing an anti-rape cause. However, there is something wrong with lying about it blatantly, as they've done for a while. So, not gay Jared, let's run the first clip.
Hi, I'm Allison.
I'm Jemima.
I'm Zasha.
I'm Lena. We may star on Girls together, but that doesn't mean we always agree.
We sometimes vote for different candidates.
Well, right away they want to showcase their, like the HuffPo.
We're so diverse.
Yes, like the HuffPo board meeting. Look at our room. They want to showcase their intellectual diversity. For example, Lena is Hillary. I think Allison is Bernie, and I think the blonde one who's inconsequential is either Hillary or Bernie.
The other white chick.
Yes. So it could be Hillary, it could be Bernie, it could be someone is kind of neutral on both Hillary or Bernie. The intellectual possibilities are endless. Next clip.
We have very different views on appropriate undergarments. Lena thinks you should wash your hair only once a week.
Of course she does. As it relates to appropriate undergarments for Lena Dunham, might I suggest a tarp? Next clip.
I clearly do not feel that way.
But there is one issue on which we are in total agreement.
According to the CDC, 1 in 5 women will be sexually assaulted during her lifetime. And in 80% of those cases, those attacks are perpetrated by someone they already know. And 1 in 4 girls will be sexually abused before the age of 18.
Okay, that's not true. Let me bring up on my screen right here the numbers from the FBI as far as rape incidents that occur per 100,000 inhabitants. This is really nerdy. I don't want to get into all the numbers right now. Live on air audio, it's not that interesting. But Ash Cow, who writes for the Washington Examiner, did a brilliant, dissected this. Even more, Huffington Post said this wasn't true.
Of all the sources.
Of all the sources. Referencing Ash Cow. Let me explain to you why this is not true. So this even comes from Huffington Post, mind you. Talking about this one study prepared on behalf of the Association of American Universities. A lot of people don't realize this. With a lot of these things, it comes from one study and it gets recirculated and people accept it as fact. Estimates such as 1 in 5 or 1 in 4 as a global rate are overly simplistic, if not misleading. None of the studies which generate estimates for specific institutes of higher education are nationally representative. So this person goes on to highlight that 19.3% of students who were contacted in this study actually responded to the survey despite the incentive. So that's a very, very low turnout. Specifically, none of this also, there's some fine print here that people don't know. Many news stories are focused on figures like 1 in 5 reporting victimization. I want to make sure I read this correctly for you. As the researchers who generated this number have repeatedly said, the 1 in 5 number is for the few IHEs and is not representative of anything outside of this frame. So another thing that's important, sexual assault, an incredibly, it's not really a clearly defined term to many people. For example, right now I say sexually assault. What do you think? What you think may be different from the next person. Rape, we know. Sexual assault, hey toots, Lena Dunham thinks that's sexual assault. You may think it's groping. So we need to be clear that they're using this study, and they even often go as far as to say 1 in 5 or 1 in 4 women are raped. In this survey, sexual assault means non-consensual sexual contact involving sexual penetration or touching. Sexual touching includes kissing as well as rubbing up against each other in a sexual way. What about non-consensual? This means either that the act was physically forced or the person's consent could not be obtained, this is important, because they were passed out, asleep, or incapacitated due to drugs or alcohol. But no definition of incapacitated is even given. So that's important to note. Do you see how we've broadened this in a very, very small sample study where only 19% of people responded, and now you're looking at actually at the number, it's still less than 1 in 5 if you look at the actual research, and it's sexual assault, a broadly defined term, including intoxicated or incapacitated, which isn't clearly defined. People responding. So in other words, anyone who responded to this survey, less than 20% of people asked, who took the time out of their day to claim they were raped, could have been, under this survey, legitimately saying, yeah, I had drunken sex once. And that would be included in the 1 in 5. Now, contrast that with, again, bring it up on the screen, FBI numbers, exceedingly rare. Rape is unbelievably rare. And it's life-destroying. So, I want to make sure that is crystal clear. They're citing one study. It is not in line. Is 1 in every 4 women you know, have they been raped? Of course it's untrue, but if you repeat it enough, it's like the wage gap myth. And these people need it to stay employed. Okay, let's roll on to the next clip.
This isn't a secret. It's reality.
No, it's not. No, it isn't reality. This is the problem. They just throw something out there. They don't give you a source. They don't give you a link. Ours will be in the description. It's not reality. It's a lie. We just proved that it isn't. The FBI proves that it isn't. So this is so important because they start off with, these are the statistics. And then they come back to, it's like hypnosis. It's not a secret. It's reality. Well, it's a double extra secret. Because it's fantasy. Next.
Why is our default reaction as a society to disbelief or to silence
or to shame?
Okay, this is what they do. Do you see what they do here, Jared? So we've debunked the facts. So they throw out a fact, it's not true. It's proven it's not true. And then they say it's reality. And then they use that fake fact to inject an entirely unsubstantiated opinion. Who says it's our instinct to disbelieve? What statistic reflects that? Why is there instinct? Do you have any kind of data to prove that our instinct is to simply say, rape? The vast majority? There's nothing proving that. So we've taken a false stat and we've pivoted into an opinion that can't be substantiated. Now, do I think there's some truth to that? Yeah, some people don't tend to believe it because Lena Dunham claimed she was raped. The only one who was doing raping was Lena Dunham, putting her fingers in her sister's hoo-ha, okay? Hooch. Whatever term you prefer that we can use that doesn't violate FCC regulations. People maybe are more skeptical because Mattress Girl, false. UVA, false. Duke Lacrosse, false. Real rape ruins lives. But rape accusations ruins men's lives. Not only because of the reaction, but the procedural requirement of schools, as we saw with Mattress Girls. Many Mattress Girls, I'm sure, assume guilty until proven innocent as it relates to rape on campus. So when you take that procedure, when you take that process and you combine it with people like Lena Dunham, the little girl who cried rape, going out saying, it's a rape culture, it's a rape culture. I was on Adam Carolla's show this week. He said, do you really think if you're a parent and you're going to send your kid to Cancun and you read 1 in 4 girls is raped, you're not sending your kids to Cancun? But they're going to willingly send their daughters on campus? Of course not. Now here's the thing. They say, why is this our reaction? Why don't we do something? Lena Dunham didn't do anything. Lena Dunham claims she was raped. We did our research. She wasn't raped. But let's assume Lena Dunham is raped. Well, why didn't you do it? By doing something, do you mean releasing a PSA where you spout some false statistics about rape and tell everyone that it's their duty to speak out? Why don't you actually go through the process? Why don't you charge the guy with rape, Lena Dunham? Why doesn't Lena Dunham... If the man raped somebody, I don't want rapists out there. I have a wife. I have a mother. Lena Dunham, cast of girls, why don't you charge your rapists in a court of law? You have the ability to. Why don't you do it? Well, here's the thing. They say, most women are afraid to come forward, so that's our role here. 1 in 5 women are raped. Most women are afraid to come forward. All you do is come forward. All these women, all you do is come forward, and then you don't press charges. In the public eye, more women are coming forward than doing anything about rape, like Lena Dunham. Oh, that's all you do is come forward. Well, because I'm being brave. Why don't you be brave and bring them into a court of law? All right, let's go to the next clip. I'm getting mad.
We hope to represent the solidarity and support all survivors should be able to find.
Which may be the first time that 4 white women can accurately represent anything.
What does that even mean? Are you girls so afraid of the social justice warrior monsters that you've created that you're trying to cut off the identity politics at the pass? Like, yeah, we're 4 white women, but this we can represent. Well, listen, I don't care that you're 4 white women. I care that you're 4 white idiots. If anything, you make me internalize shame for my race. That's the real takeaway here. Lena Dunham makes me ashamed to be white. If you're representative of white anything, I need to formally apologize. Next clip.
Please support, listen, take action.
Okay, take action. I want to get back to this and drive it home. Yes, take action. For example, we were hit with a false copyright claim from Mashable. Now, unlike other conservatives who go out and they go, we were censored, we didn't just go and bitch about it on social media, okay? We told you what was going on behind the scenes, we lawyered up, and we invited them to meet us in court. Mashable wet themselves, and it was removed. We won. We went through the legal process. Lena Dunham has that available to her with rape. when I hear people scream censorship, when I hear people scream rape and they don't do anything about it, it makes me think you're just doing it as a PR stunt, which is very convenient considering that Lena Dunham has used this to pivot to "I'm with her" is the hashtag. Hillary Clinton, who ironically enough was complicit in the alleged rape cover-ups of her husband for years. So isn't it convenient that right now, used to be everyone was racist, now everybody is sexist. But you can redeem yourself by voting for Hillary Clinton. And so it's time for all of us to talk about rape, but do nothing about it legally. Louder with Crowder, stay tuned.
For breaking news on Louder with Crowder, I'm Perry Matheson. We're returning now to Hopper for President's live press conference as he relaunches his campaign amidst the dissolving of Big Squirrel's death grip on the 2016 election.
Hopper is not only a candidate for those on the right, or those on the left, or those who live in trees. Hopper is a candidate for all. And Americans will no longer have to deal with politics as usual, because the American people have said enough. Hopper is merely a symbol of the people's revolution, and we will not...
Oh my God! I thought we had a delay on this! I've never seen anything like it. In all my years of reporting, it's incredibly gory. There's been an assassination attempt on Hopper's life. And there's so much blood. And it is like a white canvas. Why don't we have a delay? There are children watching this. It's worse than that scene in Fargo in the snow. It's worse than the holy trinity of the internet with Tub Girl and Lemon Party. I can't keep you abreast as the story unfolds, but we'll try and regain our composure and take you back. I don't know why we don't have a delay. That's unbelievably unprofessional.
Glad to be back. We're going to get off the rape situation because it's just too much. We have Matt Iseman, who's a nice man, coming up after the break. The takeaway there, I just wanted to leave people. The reality, rape, while exceedingly rare, absolutely destroys lives. And lying about rape through false statistics or made up personal fairy tales, as is the case with Lena Dunham, hurts real rape victims more than if you just shut up and didn't lie about it in the first place. Because those real rape victims, what's that?
We're getting a call. It's
what?
It's Dean Cain.
Okay, well,
should I
just call
take
on
it?
the air? Yeah, take it. Get rid of it.
Hey, Dean, can you hear me?
Jared.
Hey.
It's a green day for me, man. I'm all green today.
It
Rocking
is.
the green, bro.
It is green. Hey, we're
Hey, I was just playing like World of Warcraft with my son. He didn't want to play anymore. You want to jump on real quick?
Does he know? Does he know I can hear you? We're going live.
Dean, Steven can hear you. We're actually, yeah. This is
Steven,
going.
what's up? Just give me 1 second.
Okay, yeah, I'm doing well. Jared, just hang up.
Hey, I'll call you back. Okay, I'll text you back.
Is it having a problem? Audio problem?
Just make sure that for future reference, he knows.
I thought I told him.
I know. Nice guy, but you're closer with him than I am, so it'd be awkward if I don't want to have to call him up.
Well, just, he means well,
yes.
I think. But,
so, we have a few minutes here. I'm trying to think. Well, okay, let's talk about, I did do Adam Carolla's show this week. You know what? That was a weird deal. And I've always been a longtime fan of Carolla. It's actually not the Adam Carolla show. It was Adam Carolla and the Dr. Drew show. They've relaunched. They've rejoined together. So it's not Loveline. And it was just one of those situations. Was
it awkward?
It was awkward.
Kind of weird?
It was one of those things where it was someone else booked me through. I was out there for Prager University, and
which should be a sweet video.
It should be a really sweet video. Yeah, the Prager University video should be good. And I went in, and Adam and Drew have their own thing, and so it was like, I just kind of like, why am I here? I think I was sort of booked on the wrong show, and Adam like maybe spoke like 2 words to me. I was like, thanks for coming, and that was about it. And I told him that I loved Crank Yankers and the Man Show and stuff, so you can go listen to it. But they were taking calls with callers and giving relationship advice. That's the show. And one of the guys called in. For those, if you go listen to the show, I think people got really uncomfortable, because they were giving advice to this one guy who was married, and he calls in, not married, he's calling in saying, hey, I'm dating this woman, she's married, but she is separating, but I think she may want to go back with her husband, and they're giving advice. And I said, am I allowed to jump in on the call? Because it was kind of Drew and Adam. And they said, yeah. I said, so let me be clear, you're dating this woman who's married. The caller said yes. I said, she has kids? He said, yes. I said, what a dick. And that was about it, and you could hear a pin drop. I don't think that occurred to anybody else. Like, I know it's a relationship show, and I think you're supposed to sort of solve problems. And I was like, just stop dating married women.
Yeah, there's a solution.
So I don't think they were. It was one of those situations. Like Dr. Drew, I've done his show many times.
Yeah.
And Adam Carolla has no reason to, but he clearly had no idea who I was or what I've done.
The show's always the best. Did you ever watch? I think it's called Talk Sex with Sue Johansson. Used to be on daytime TV all the time. I used
The
to
old
watch
lady?
It. The old lady.
Yeah.
The funniest thing in the world, because it's this really old lady giving like sex advice to like gay guys with like hemorrhoids. It was the funniest thing in the world to listen, because she is so serious. I used to watch it, no joke, with my mom, because you'd think it'd be awkward, but any other show it would have been.
Right.
That show was just hilarious.
Well, if people
to watch.
haven't listened, Dr. Laura, she was taken off the air for saying the N-word.
Yeah.
Taken off the word.
Yeah.
And she was saying it because someone said someone used the N-word, and she said, what was the context? And it was a black caller. She said, well, what do you mean? She said, well, it depends on the context. I turn on BET and I hear the N-word all the time. N-word. N-word. She said it like, no, she shouldn't have said it because she was on terrestrial radio. But the outrage, like she's clearly not a racist.
Yeah.
And now she's on, I think she's on Sirius. She has her own podcast, but she's really tough on callers.
She is.
And I think today she wouldn't have been fired.
I think Courtney should be the next
Dr. Laura.
Dr. Laura. She'd be good at it.
She would be good at it.
Just talk
but she
away.
would just excoriate everyone. She would just
could.
Don't call me. You're a screw up.
Don't call me. You really effed this one up,
Right.
buddy.
You really, really screwed this one up. So if you want to go listen to that, the Adam Carolla show was fun. I was really glad to meet. Every now and then I get to meet someone who I've grown up on, like Joe Rogan. Adam Carolla was pretty cool.
Nick DiPaolo.
Nick DiPaolo, of course, funniest man alive. We'll have to have him back. Another thing in news today, we'll talk about this. Hillary Clinton refuses to admit that the right to bear arms was constitutional earlier this week.
Well, there you go.
For those, she was asked, and it was George Stephanopoulos, someone who worked for the Clintons, mind you. If you ever want to find a picture that more crystallizes the incestuous relationship of media, and look, my hair is all going all crazy. You can never get it right when you come out of a shower and you put a Chinese hat on.
No.
It just messes it up. I don't know how the Chinese men do it. If you ever want a photo that more crystallizes everything wrong with the media, George Stephanopoulos and Hillary Clinton in a side-by-side. In the side-by-side split view. He worked for the Clintons. And then he's interviewing Hillary Clinton. And we're supposed to believe that he's unbiased and fair. And even in this case, he was going, is the right to bear arms constitutional? We don't want to play the clip because we have to be careful because of copyright claims now. The Young Turks get away with it, but as conservatives, when we play the clip, we're going to get a copyright claim and you'll never see this video. Because conservatives aren't allowed to do news on YouTube or Facebook.
Happy 2016.
It's a violation of copyright for us to play a clip of what Hillary Clinton says on air, live, and then critique it, and it'll be taken down. So I'm repeating it for you. She refused many times when she was asked to say that the right to bear arms was constitutional. So let me kind of read you some of the transcript. We have the video up. She said, I think that for most of our history, there was a nuanced reading of the Second Amendment until the decision by the late Justice Scalia, and there was no argument until then that localities and states and federal government had a right, as we do with every amendment, to impose reasonable regulations. So I believe we can have common sense safety measures consistent with the Second Amendment. And to Little George's credit, he said, that's not what I asked. I said, do you believe that their conclusion that an individual's right to bear arms is a constitutional right? Straightforward enough. Answer from Hillary, not so much. If it's a constitutional right, then like every other constitutional right, it is subject to reasonable regulations. And what people have done with that decision, no, you're wrong. You're wrong. You can just toss in reasonable regulations. To Hillary Clinton, reasonable regulations means arbitrary assault weapons ban, okay? For those not, this is legal with a rifle under the assault weapons ban. This pistol grip is illegal. Legal, illegal. Legal, illegal. Barrel shroud, legal, illegal. Assault weapons ban, illegal. I'm holding up a revolver here, a cowboy revolver, even though it's single action because its capacity is higher than the assault weapons ban allowed for. Common sense gun control, Hillary Clinton believes you should sue. You should be able to sue gun manufacturers when a shooting occurs. Take a Xanax, you can't buy a gun. An umbrella term doesn't define what she means. So, this woman's running for president. She doesn't believe that you have the God-given right to self-preservation. That's important. Know what the common sense gun laws are. Because at one point, when I was a stupid Canadian, I almost supported them. I was a dumbass. Matt Iseman, American Ninja Warrior, up next.
Welcome to Wild at Large on the Nature Network, narrated by Jasper Prunk. Oh, the great white. Few names strike such fear and intimidation into the souls of those who hear. A marvelous predator capable of traveling hundreds of miles and growing to the length of an entire school bus. Now, maybe we should put something up for scale. Is that like a school bus like my boy would be in, or one that like a short bus for the retards?
Damn it, Jasper, do the lines.
Well, maybe when we edit it all together, we could get a bus up there to show if it's the right kind of bus. Once plentiful in the ocean, they've now become an endangered species. So environmental protection groups have been forced to step in and lobby governments to create sanctions to save these wondrous creatures. Now, that man looks like he's fishing. He's breaking the law. Well, I won't say anything about that, but typical.
Damn it, Jasper.
No, I understand. That's out of line. We want to stay on the sharks. But am I reading this right? We're trying to save these sharks from being fished. We're not allowing people to fish them. Am I reading that right?
Yes, read the script, Jasper.
Oh, why in the hell would we be doing that? These things are soulless monsters, killing machines. Why would we want to save them? Why wouldn't we want to eradicate them from the oceans? Look at this thing. It's horrifying.
It's an apex predator. Ecosystem, Jasper. That's why we do the show. Just do the lines.
Oh, that's a bunch of poppycock. If I hear apex predator one more time, you know what? If we get all of the great whites, sure, there'll be more seals. I'm fine with it. Nobody's getting offed in record numbers by seals on their surfboards. If we get rid of these soulless killing machines who have lifeless eyes like those Russians we talked about last week, all we'll have is more seals and penguins. And I'd much rather do some specials on seals and penguins than another surfer getting attacked by a shark outside of some drum circle in San Francisco. I will not read one more script that involves saving an endangered animal that, by God, should have been endangered and eradicated a long time ago.
Give me an ulcer, Jasper. Give me an aspirin.
I tell you what, an ulcer is child's play compared to that bite that lady's gonna have taken out of her surfboard and her hamstring. You selfish little punk. Stay tuned for more Wild at Large on the Nature Network, narrated by Jasper Prunk.
Reach the wizard. Reach the wizard.
Glad to be back. That's my favorite bump from Pogo. Pogo, you can follow him on the Twitter, on YouTube. He's not allowed in the United States. He's Australian. Some visa problem. But this next gentleman...
music. That's all that matters.
It is. That's all that matters. You've watched him on the television on a show that... It's one of the most popular shows of the summer, which is great because summer can sometimes be ratings death for TV. And this show just is it's blown up. My dad has watched it from pillar to post, so he's super excited. Don't laugh yet. We haven't introduced you. At Matt Iseman, host of American Ninja Warrior.
Now can I laugh?
Now
yeah,
you can
that's
laugh.
great. It is amazing. It's funny. Like my mom loves the show, and my friends who have little kids love the show. And it's we've been lucky to stumble onto a show that seems to kind of be this crossover formula that old and young people like, and thank God they watch during the summer.
Right. Well, and by stumble you mean steal from the Japanese.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I mean, it started as the Japanese show. It was on G4, became so popular, they're like, let's dub it into English. And now, what's interesting is the Japanese show did okay, but our format has become more popular, and so it's now being franchised around the world. And Ninja Warrior Germany is starting. Interesting.
That's got to be tough. I can't imagine it would work in the really Nordic countries where everyone's over 200 pounds.
Well, they do it indoors. No, there's a Swedish one. Turkey has it. UK. But they've taken the American format. But as business proponents, you may be interested to know that despite the fact the American version has really changed the format of the show, and it's the one that they're taking.
Wait, Turkey?
Turkey. I believe there's a.
Is there a suicide bombing challenge?
It's amazing. If you lose, it gets ugly. Literally.
Yes.
No, but it's that the U.S. NBC doesn't see any of the formatting dollars, which is one of the big ways they make money. So,
right.
As good as the show is doing, they still wish they had a piece of the bigger pie.
Right.
Don't we all?
Yes,
right.
We all do. Well, I remember last time we had you in the program, it hadn't yet been renewed for a second season.
Yeah.
So that must have been great news for you.
That was second season on NBC, and this is because we had a number of seasons on G4. This is actually season 8 right now, but most people see it. For a lot of people, people are still discovering the show. This wasn't like American Idol, where all of a sudden you go from 0 to 30 million viewers.
No. Well, they didn't have that kind of budget. They wouldn't have hired you on the outset. They would have.
It literally. I was hired. No. I'm open about this. This was the first and only job I've ever been offered where you didn't have to audition, and I got this job about 7 days before filming started, which means they had exhausted everyone more famous and more expensive than me. And then they're like, well, we'll take the guy. Because at that point I was doing Sports Soup, the sports version of the Soup, on Versus, which was a sister channel of G4 where we started. So I think I was the it's 2 a.m. and you're drunk, and all right, this girl will do. You're coming with me. And that's fine. This worked out well. We ended up getting married.
Well, there you go.
Right.
That's a sweet story. It wouldn't be the first one I would tell your kids when you're giving them the talk. But yeah, it's funny. I had that once too, and it was the only role that I was offered without an audition, and it was for a Lifetime movie, and it turned out I was going to be a gay guy who ends up selling himself for a coke addiction. And I was like, no.
Did you consult Jared for research?
No, I didn't consult Jared. He wasn't around at this point. Would have been used.
Right. Yeah.
I could have used him. I could have
turned it down.
Well, I didn't want to do it, and then I remember that was when I had a falling out with my agent, which was like, if you're not going to do any blue material, and I was like, first off, I'm performing oral services to a man in a truck stop for like a box of what equates to sucrets, like a very small amount of drugs in this scene. I'm assuming the reason you've come to me is that even the far left progressives felt uncomfortable with it. so I don't think it's
all the way around and go to the uber conservative guy.
Yeah.
We'll do it.
So,
sure.
But I've auditioned for other roles, and then they always I didn't usually go for callbacks. They would just say, you know what, let's put you in this role. So, well, that's good. So you've got a gig though in television. Are there hopefully second season you were able to up the kashish?
The kashish, I'm finally getting paid like it's no longer cable, but then I got, I'm going to be on the new season of Celebrity Apprentice. We just found out yesterday.
Are you really?
It's going to premiere January 2nd. They pushed it. It was initially going to premiere in September, but because of the former boss, I think they were a little concerned about being either drowned out or inextricably linked to him for better or worse. So they decided to push it to January, where either he'll be president or he won't be dominating the news cycle. So I think January 2nd.
Well, and then Arnold kind of peeved him off when he endorsed Kasich. Trump gets him the job effectively at the Celebrity Apprentice, and then he comes out, Kasich is the guy, and then Trump says, he's a prick.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's what they were afraid of, is that Arnold or that Trump, despite the fact he would be running for the most powerful office on the planet, would still take time to talk about a reality TV show on NBC and offer his opinions.
Okay, well,
I'm American Ninja Warrior. I sound more like a Kennedy. I'm not. But so I think they kind of felt like there's no upside to it. Let's go to January and see how.
Well, I can guess your opinion then on Trump. Okay, listen, just don't even try and play this down the middle, because he's a fan of, he's a Crowder head. Okay, people watching, he every now and then he'll message me, and it's like he doesn't just message me of a short video, but something that occurred like deep, an hour and a half into the program. So he's listening to it. So draw your own conclusions.
but I can give you a hint. The guy's not far left. Sorry if you lose your job because of this. You chose to.
American Ninja Warrior couldn't be more conservative in it.
So was Trump your guy? Who was your person going in? Did you have some, or were you just kind of waiting?
I didn't. I wasn't that familiar with the field. And what's interesting, I was at Princeton, class of '93. Ted Cruz was class of '92, and all my friends and I were going, "Did you ever interact with Cruz?" And none of us did. And I don't know if that says more about him or us and our commitment to academics and our pursuit of the debate team. But no one knew him or had heard of him or had interactions of him. It was interesting. His roommate from college was on Twitter, and I don't know if it was a parody account or not, but the guy just talked about how Cruz would just furiously
service himself?
Yeah, service himself.
Wow, who among us didn't at that point?
Is that a bad thing? Like, I will tell you, we were at Princeton during the 90s. It was the grunge era. AIDS was at its height. There was not a lot of human connection going on there.
No.
So, yeah, there was a lot of pleasuring yourself in your room. Shame on him.
Well, the thing is, every president has done that, but from here forward, we'll know about every president having done that. That's what's uncomfortable.
There'll be Snapchats of people doing it. Like, just to care of myself, winky face in the camera. Whatever it is, we are Big Brother. That's what's ironic. The government doesn't need to monitor us. We monitor ourselves. We put everything out there and give people this material to be taken out of context or to end your career, and we do it willingly.
Well, that is why when I'm on the road away from my wife, and should I partake, I give people the common courtesy of tilting my iPad camera down so that nobody actually has to. If the NSA is watching, I just tilt it away a little bit.
There is that.
I don't know if that was true or not, but it does. There definitely, you want to be able to respect the office. That's kind of an interesting conversation as we move into new media. And I think that's important, but I also think it's important for Republicans to realize, all the Republicans who aren't Trump, that this is just the way it is. And they didn't understand that. We've talked about this. People like Cruz, people like Rubio, Fiorina, who we had in the show and we really liked, they didn't really take advantage of alternative media, new media, as the conservatives call it.
I totally agree with you. You were the first one who brought that up. And it was interesting because I remember, I think Bill Clinton was the one who kind of first did it, most popularly going on Arsenio and playing the saxophone.
Right.
And so many people thought that was beneath a candidate. And then you realize how smart it was in the sense of he's going where the audience is, where these young people are. They're not watching Meet the Press or Late Night with Ted Koppel. They're consuming media in different ways.
Is Ted Koppel still around?
Them,
I don't know.
He was back then. That was Nightline. Was that Nightline, Ted Koppel?
Ted Koppel
I think
dead?
back in the 90s, though.
Is he dead?
He may as well be.
Did you hear Prince died?
Right?
I don't know. I have no idea. Okay, sorry, continue.
I think that's, and even Obama, when he was, who was it, Glozell, he did the interview with the girl who did the Fruit Loops on YouTube, and you're like, yeah, where's the dignity of the office? At the same time, though, how do you reach people in this new generation where they don't watch television? They certainly
not
don't
even
watch.
new generation. I mean, people your age, my dad's age now, they don't watch. I mean, first off,
Am I your dad's age?
Well,
how old am I?
I don't know how old you are. You're probably closer to my dad's age than me.
Yeah. Jeez.
That's okay, but you look good. You're a doctor, and you've kept your figure. Well, you have to, otherwise NBC fires you. That's the thing with hosts. It's not like
literally they go, you're looking a little big there. Lay off the crullers, Iseman. I was like, wow, that just happened to women.
Unless you're Al Roker, then you get a free pass because he looks better fat. He looks like a guy in a fat suit. Like, he doesn't even look like a real fat guy. Looks like a clump.
Eddie Murphy. The clumps.
Exactly. We're tracking together. And then he just did it with like every movie after that, and people are going, "It worked once, Eddie.
Sorry.
Now you have to move on." I know. What if I did it like with 5 people? No. You did it. Let's move on. So with I understand what you're saying, but a lot of people need to understand. Most people aren't watching Morning Joe, even if they're older. Most people aren't watching cable news, even if they're older. Right. A lot of older generations, they're watching mainstream sort of press. They're much more involved in entertainment. Ninja Warrior, I would imagine, gets far bigger numbers than most of these news shows. And then there's a component of anyone under 45 less and less likely to get cable at all, and they get their news online. So we're not just talking about like, man, radical 22-year-olds, David Bowie. We're talking about anyone below the age of 50 who doesn't tune into cable news. And like a good example, Ted Cruz did a 20-minute phoner on Adam Carolla. he should be making that stop on all of those shows that do far
didn't he
more.
come on some guy in Michigan's podcast at one point?
He did. I don't think he wanted to come back though.
No.
That was why. Well, that's because he was a contender at that point.
Right.
And
he was hungry for the exposure.
Exactly. Carly Fiorina came on. Literally, we pre-taped her. What was it? 30 minutes before she walked on stage into the very first debate. And
she was great.
She
was fantastic on your show. And here's the other thing I think that they miss out on is there's a cynicism about traditional press and a feeling that there's a bias there. And I think that you also never get the sense of who is this person really? And when you see them on a more informal show or somewhere, hey, we're going to be joking around and playing pogo in the lead-in, and they can let their hair down and see a real person, because I think that's what a lot of people want to see is not the person behind the podium. And Trump, I think, has captured so much of the sentiment in not being a politician, and the others just continued to fight it. And instead of saying, listen, I'm going to go on this podcast in a T-shirt and show you who I really am and give you an idea of my ideas, but not in this calculated speak, but just talking like I would to a friend.
Right.
I think it was a real missed opportunity to connect with a lot of disenchanted voters.
Well, and it was a real challenge for us because guests like you are far, we prefer guests like, we have people all the time who really, some of them weren't even big names before they got on the show, and then they sort of started gaining traction.
Right.
Well, good example, Milo. We had Milo on when he really only had a few thousand Twitter followers because
darling,
I said,
I won't come to Michigan for you.
No. Just because we thought it was interesting and he had a lot to offer, and now, of course, we're not taking credit for that, but we're saying we found him because someone who's willing to come to play. So we turn down politicians all the time. We felt that we had a duty during the election, and we had to get them into that dynamic. Like, no. This isn't a podium and talking points, and it's tough, and that's why a lot of them deserve to lose. And it seems like Democrats just get that more, unfortunately.
And I think they're also worried. They're worried they're going to look like an idiot or look out of touch because they don't. A lot of them probably are more polished and calculated, and they are uncomfortable. Who is it? Ken Starr. I mean, sort of unrelated, but talking about Baylor, where you saw him in that interview. This is a guy who has been involved in some of the most powerful investigations in American history, and here he is not knowing how to answer a simple question.
Right. We have to go to a break. We'll bring you back, but that is a good point. And then I want to talk about ninjas and get you to say something racist so we can get you fired, and then you can work for us. Louder with Crowder, Matt Iseman, who shan't be employed much longer. Stay tuned.
Breaking news on Louder with Crowder. I'm Perry Matheson. We unfortunately are forced to inform you that earlier today, Senator Bernie Sanders was hit by a Mack truck on the 405 freeway as he made a campaign stop in California. We do have an exclusive interview with Bernie Sanders on location via satellite, who now has no arms nor legs. Senator Sanders, sorry about the quadriplegia.
I am as well!
Now, Senator Sanders, at this point, with the mathematical impossibility of winning the nomination, and given your current health status, do you finally consider dropping out of this campaign?
Not only will I not drop out, I'm reinvigorated from the loss of blood and subsequent transfusions.
But, Mr. Sanders, you have no arms or legs, nor a path to victory. Surely at this point it's time to unify the party.
The only person who's unified here, Perry, is you, with the Clintons and your high-paying speaking engagements for the Big Bang.
No, Mr. Sanders, that's entirely inappropriate.
I'm coming for you, Perry! And all your 1% ilk!
Oh, that's unfortunate. We'll keep you abreast as this story unfolds. Back to your programming. I'm Perry Matheson.
When it's time to party, we will party hard.
Glad to be back. Glad to have a guest whose game at Matt Iseman, host of American Ninja Warrior. Matt Iseman, thank you for being with us, sir.
Always a pleasure.
You made that point earlier about Ken Starr.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's true. Some of these people don't have just a sense in how to communicate and how to relate with people, and that's what's changing a lot. We talked about that with technology. It used to be, people would get their talk, their human interaction on the dinner table, and then they go watch TV. And tonight on the... Now they don't really have that dinner conversation, and so they want their entertainment to feel more like a human connection, and so that's what this is, and it's amazing how that's changed so quickly.
Yeah, I think that's why podcasts have done so well also, in that it is, to me, the best podcasts or the best entertainment period are the ones where it feels like a hang with your friends and you're a part of it, you just can't talk back. And I do this show on Hallmark called Home and Family, and it's a daytime talk show. But the formula they've got is, it really is, we're having a great time. And when I listen to you and Jared, or when I listen to Anthony Cumia or Opie or Jim Norton, and I think when they're doing their shows, you really feel like this is how I talk, and this is how I talk to my friends.
Right.
And I think though you feel you're getting a sense of the honest person.
Right.
And now, in their defense, when people who aren't comfortable being in front of the camera or being scrutinized, they're concerned about things being taken out of context, and we see that happen again and again. So I think they're trying to choose their words very carefully, not realizing, look, just have your thoughts, stand behind them. If you get torn apart, you can clarify them later. And the reality is, most people will try to give you somewhat of the benefit of the doubt.
Well,
hopefully.
we won't. We have enough from you where we're going to edit a clip together that
I
makes
know.
it sound like you say all Mexicans are rapists, and we're going to send it to the executives at NBC.
Well, we were in Las Vegas, staying at Trump Hotel last year when that statement came out as part of the finale for American Ninja Warrior. So through NBC, we're staying at Trump Hotel.
Oh, geez.
And then he says this on the day we're checking out, and I'm just like, I think this is probably a good time to get out of this hotel.
Yeah, to get out of that hotel.
Some repercussions.
So how many, can you release what the numbers are for American Ninja Warrior? How many people watch it?
Yeah, I think we had 8 million last week, which for a summer show, I think America's Got Talent is the only show that...
No, hold on a second. People need to understand this. 8 million, okay? When people talk about Fox News obliterating the ratings, they get 1.5 million daily.
Yeah.
Like their highest numbered show, they're lucky if they cross 3 million.
It's
8 million in the summer watching it. That's what people need to understand. More people care about entertainment than being involved in micropolitics.
Well, it is. It's a show that's growing. And what's interesting is watching the fragmentation of options, and that audiences are fragmented. So the expectations on network have gone down. You're never going to have a show short of the Super Bowl or something where 30 million people are tuning in, like American Idol. There are just too many different choices where people have Hulu, Netflix, they're watching YouTube videos, they're consuming podcasts.
Right.
So it's interesting because the networks see the erosion of their audience, but they don't know what to do. They don't know how to capitalize on digital.
So they resist it a lot of the time. Like we get these copyright claims or stuff which are BS, and it's like they resist it. Remember they did it with digital downloading of music. Resisted it. Like, listen, people don't necessarily want to steal music. Give them an option that's convenient.
Well, that's interesting. Late night shows, on the other hand, are trying to embrace it, like Fallon and James Corden. Carpool Karaoke, I think people may not even know he has a talk show, but they all know Carpool Karaoke, to the point where I've heard they're talking about turning that into a show in prime time on CBS.
Well, Key and Peele sort of broke that mold, too. They created it. Yeah, no, it's amazing, and they fight it. Let me ask you this. Speaking of networks sort of fighting it, there is the one thing at least Trump represents that I don't know where you line up on him specifically right now. We're kind of all sitting back and watching. The pendulum has swung the other way, even more so just since you were last on the show, I think 6 months ago, with political correctness, where everything is racist, everything's offensive. People they're not having it anymore. Do you think networks get that? Because when I was in LA just recently, it's still the only place where a shirt like this you can't wear that, where you still have to be really careful as to saying something that would offend. That's not the case around the rest of the country. Do you think
I think
getting
the
it?
networks, I think the networks are the at the long end of the tail, or whatever the metaphor. That you see cable, you'll see it much sooner on social media, and then on YouTube, and then on Netflix, and then networks like FX, before it ever gets to the traditional big networks. And a show like ours, we're a huge. Our show is more women than men viewers, and a lot of it are families and mothers. And so when we look at it, this is a show that's going to be very.
I don't
safe.
mean your show, but I mean being on set, being around these people. Remember when the guy Grey's Anatomy was sent to rehab for saying fag?
Oh, Isaiah Washington.
Yes,
Yeah,
that wouldn't happen nowadays. Michael Bisping just called Luke Rockhold a faggot in a fight conference, and he was like, "Oh, I shouldn't have said that. Sorry," and that was it. Like it's gone the other way.
I'm not going to go around testing it.
Not in that town.
I still think it depends on who you are and your persona. I think when Chelsea Handler does it or someone who's expected to do it, people are much more prepared for it. If a fighter does it, I think they're much more kind of, well, that's just a person laden with testosterone.
No, because only a couple years ago there were fighters that were suspended for saying that. And I'm not saying you should say it, but I'm saying it because we've had a run-in where Dave Rubin, people were protesting him for appearing on a show where I said the word fag when I was on stage with Milo, referring to his use of the word. And it just seems like even liberals are like, okay, it's enough. And I just wonder on set.
The condemnation by association drives me crazy. Where I think Mike Rowe had a good point. He went on a Fox show and people were attacking him, and I think he is more openly conservative. But it's like I don't think there's anything wrong with going on a show with someone whose politics you agree with or disagree with, having a conversation. I always think more dialogue is better, and talking to people, whether you agree with them or not, is a great way to challenge your ideas, make them stronger, and either change your mind or change someone else's mind. That so many people, it's just an echo chamber, and I think you look at people who you're preaching to the choir the whole time, and I don't think that's very compelling.
No, I think you're right. Well, we must let him go. Matt Iseman, host of American Ninja Warrior. You can follow him. When does it run, real quick?
We go to Monday nights, starting Monday, every Monday, 8 p.m. NBC.
Monday nights. It was too friendly of an interview, so quote me on this. Matt Iseman is a Nazi and he hates Jews. I don't know why. Everyone on NBC, you should know this.
Jewish.
Louder with Crowder. Stay tuned. This week in feminism. Okay, Claire, I understand. Manual labor isn't for everyone, but we do have another option available here that I think you'll find quite satisfactory. It does pay around $94,000 a year. However, it requires travel extensively across the country, often across the globe, long hours, and there are no weekends. However, the bonus structure and the benefits are quite impressive.
Yeah, I just... weekend.
Well, allow me to perhaps narrow this down. Do you find that it's very important to have 2-day weekends?
Definitely.
And manual labor's right out. Now, what about the long hours and traveling? If you have weekends off, are you willing to work 16-hour days?
No.
Now, are you willing to go to a trade school?
I already have a master's in gender studies, so...
Right. That would be wasted time otherwise. Well, there is a position available that maybe you'll find satisfactory. My secretary.
Fuck you, asshole!
That was to be expected. Well, I don't think this is going to work out.
You're hearing from Gloria Allred, you patriarch, you piece of shit!
Yes, I suspected you were an insufferable bitch. Well, take care. I hope you find what you're looking for in life. My guess is you'll be fat and lonely for a long time. Glad to be back. New bump from the Pogo.
Always good bumps from the Pogo.
Third hour, producing with me in studio, as always, is Not Gay Jared, who is not gay. Follow him on the Twitter at Not Gay Jared. I fulfill my legal obligations. Draw your own conclusions. Did we have the Guile theme song yet?
It's I think it's coming up next.
Okay.
I believe. Yeah, it's coming.
Some new bumps. So a lot of people keep asking us, where do you get these? Most of the bumps are Pogo, Psychotic Giraffe, or Andrew WK. And then the couple others are just from bands that I grew up with as kids, literally local bands on the South Shore, and you can't find them anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
So There's no plug. They just said you can use this. Again, royalty free. Ha 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 ha. Young Turks and the leftists, they can do whatever they want. But if we have anything, we run a clip from the news, we get dinged. So please, if you're watching this live stream on YouTube, if you're listening terrestrially,
Hopefully Gowan isn't listening or watching.
hopefully louderwithcrowder.com, iTunes, SoundCloud, sign up for the mailing list. It's all free. We're going to be launching some cool stuff. We just want to make sure that you stay in the loop because they're coming for us, Barbara. Okay. We're going to have Courtney Kirchhoff after. Jeffrey the Angry Laotian from Baltimore. I wanted to get into something very specific here. A couple of things. Let me preface this with Hillary Clinton. We talked about this last week, and a lot of people were furious that we even gave her credit. She gave a speech where she sort of kicked off her first attacks on Donald Trump. Mm-hmm. Now, Hillary Clinton or Donald Trump? Of course, I prefer Donald Trump. And of course, I would never, ever vote for Hillary Clinton. Does that mean that I'm a huge fan of either? No. That's as even-handed as I can be. That being said, from a performance standpoint, the reason she did so well, she had people laughing at Donald Trump. Obviously, it's a friendly audience. She appropriated conservative culture. She co-opted it. She became the patriot.
Is that okay?
This is true though, she talked about how America is great and we can make it better, but America is still the greatest country. And Donald Trump is basically implying that it's not. Here's something that's important. While people get mad when you ask them macro about politics, you'll have people say, yeah, the outlook doesn't look very great. But right now, people, when you ask them about their personal lives, their personal situation, they're actually happier than they've been in recent history. More people are happy with their personal situation. That's also why it's not good for conservatives to demonize Obama for everything. You know, everything's Obama's fault because a lot of people are still happy with their lives. And so if you do that and you say it's all Obama's fault, they go, well, my life is pretty good. That must all be Obama. So it's important for me to say that's why Hillary Clinton was effective. Something else that really bothers me with this whole make America great as though it's not. Regardless, listen, I understand why some people like Donald Trump. This is not about Donald Trump. It's about the idea that America isn't great. To think that the country was destroyed by Barack Obama. It wasn't destroyed. I don't like a lot of his policies, but the country hasn't been irreparably destroyed. I don't believe that. I think it's worse off than had we had somebody else. But it's not destroyed. But to believe that one man can destroy the entire country and that your only chance of bringing it back is one transcendent political savior, that's not conservative. That's not anti-authoritarian. You're like a man wearing a sports jersey. Please, Mr. Trump, or please, Mrs. Clinton, please save me. You're the only one. What's the term they use? Cuck? Please, take control over everything. America's horrible. You're the only one who can fix it. Mirror, put the mirror away. I don't want to look in the mirror.
Call me Obi-Wan Trump.
Yes.
You're my oldie.
Or Hillary.
Or Hillary.
But the difference is, it's okay for a liberal because they believe that government can fix all their problems. But when I see Republicans, self-professed conservatives, believing that one man is the one to save them, that's a real problem.
I never thought about it that way.
Yeah, there is no one man. No one man can destroy it. No one man can save it. Are we facing some serious stuff? Absolutely. But come on. Stop being such whiny losers all the time. I don't know what I'm doing okay. Most people I know are doing okay. They're upset about their premiums have gone up. People are a little bit unsure. But listen, there are some other things. Equities have done better under Obama than any other president. The reason for that is all the risk was built in. But let's not exaggerate it and put all of our hopes on one man. That's just something that really bothers me. Something else, you're putting your hopes in one. You're putting all of your eggs in the basket of an election that everyone is angry. And what I'm telling you is statistically that's not true. Everybody is not angry. The people who scream the loudest are angry, whether it's the social justice warriors on campus or the Trump people or the Hillary people with the rape and the sexists. That's not most Americans. Most black people, when polled right now, say they're better off. Even with young black people, only 27% thought that maybe things are worse than they were a decade ago. We'll put these sources up at louderwithcrowder.com. So it's important. Put it in perspective. So a lot of people are saying, I want a president, the middle class who's going to fight for the middle class. And I hate to say it, I'm middle class. We've become ungrateful whiners. Listen, I don't want a president who's going to fight for the middle class. I want a president who's going to shut up, stay within his constitutional authority, and stay out of my way. And it's crazy when I see Republicans, conservatives wanting some of these protectionist policies. Now listen, NAFTA. Some ramifications, good or bad. Let me just sort of... Free trade, when done properly, is not wrong. Now, I understand that we've negotiated some bad deals and we can get screwed in the deals. I understand why TPP is a problem. But the problem with it is not free trade. That is not the issue. Here's what bothers me. Nearly all economists agree that NAFTA's effect on the economy has been relatively modest. Good or bad, it hasn't been that significant. As conservatives, libertarians, anti-authoritarians believe, the market tends to account for these issues. The only really valid study that proves catastrophic results from NAFTA comes from the Economic Policy Institute, a massively union-backed think tank. That's the one, let me bring it up right here on screen. Yeah, there you go, NAFTA. It comes from, oh gosh, that's the wrong thing. I'll bring it up afterward. It comes from a big union-backed think tank. That's what Bernie Sanders points to. And, of course, Donald Trump. He uses it as a source. People say NAFTA killed the American worker. That there are plenty of American manufacturing jobs. Here's something else that's irrelevant. Many of the manufacturing jobs should go away. Many of the middle-class jobs should go away to make room for new jobs. Let's use some examples. Why do you want the government to step in and tell us which jobs are mandatory and should stay and which ones shouldn't? Again, assuming all trade deals are set up on the up and up, if they're putting tariffs on our stuff going in, and we're not, I understand that. We need to level that playing field. I get it. But when people say, oh, bring back these jobs. Okay, GM, you deserve to lose your job. GM couldn't sell cars, but the government bailed them out. I don't think you deserve a job. I'm middle class. I don't give a rat's ass. I don't care. You don't deserve that job. Okay, let's scale it back. Manufacturing, let's bring it back on shore. Printing companies. Many people have lost their jobs in printing companies. You deserve to. Anyone here print a lot of things lately?
Phone books.
I don't print anything. It's okay. Those jobs should go away. Let's scale it back. Okay, let me give typewriters were a big thing in this country. We were manufacturing typewriters. Should the government have stepped in when computers came out and said, no, we need to maintain these typewriting jobs, the creating of typewriters?
They still look cool in fairness as the header for the social justice warrior Tumblr pages.
Right.
Because they're writers. They're deep thinkers.
But you understand my point.
Yes.
Why should the government decide which jobs to subsidize? Just because you're middle class and you're angry. Listen, this idea of the vanishing middle class, well, that's true. The middle class has disappeared. Because they're all upper class. Let me give you an example. Everyone's, the middle class has disappeared. Okay, you're middle class. You make the average income in this country. I think it's somewhere around $44,000. Let's say you make anywhere between $45,000 to $60,000. You're morning. You drive to work in a car that's a few years old, air-conditioned, electric seats. You plug in your USB device or your Bluetooth. You're listening to your iPod while you're stopping at Starbucks to pick up your coffee. Right next to you on that very same road is a millionaire doing the exact same thing, only he happens to be in a Lexus. And what you have today, the richest sultan didn't have 100 years ago. Those things wouldn't have been made available to you if the economy didn't determine which new jobs should come in. So people talk about all these disappearing jobs. Well, if you look at unemployment, it's remained relatively consistent. When if you were to believe all of these disappearing jobs, unemployment would be like Detroit. It would be 20, 30, 40%. But what about all of the magically appearing jobs for the middle class? Silicon Valley, we throw that around. Do you know what that means? That's a place, a hub for new tech, new developments. You can't buy real estate. It's skyrocketing so much. That's really only in the last 2 decades. It was a death valley. It didn't exist. When you say Silicon Valley, you're talking about, poof, jobs appearing out of thin air. A whole new industry. Something probably responsible for more millionaires or 100,000aires than any other device I can think of or any other tool, the App Store. Anyone can do that. App stores. There you go. There are jobs. YouTube, blogs, social media. There's so many things online. Now I know you're going to say, well, that's because that's what you do. Okay, that's right. Tech has provided everyone their ability to have online real estate. Let's get out of tech. Okay, local coffee shops, restaurants, farm to table, breweries are more popular than ever. There are more mom and pop shops than ever before. Franchises are struggling because people are buying local. Michigan is a good example. They had to raise their cap on home brewing. I want to say from, I don't have the numbers in front of me, 16,000 barrels or like 12,000 barrels to over 40,000 barrels. The reason for that is it's so popular and micro brewing employs so many thousands of people in Michigan that they said, well, we want smaller breweries to be able to serve on premises and we want them to avoid some taxes. Of course, again, lowering taxes helps the business, encourages the business, and we don't want people to be punished. So a lot of these small breweries can do it under the banner of home brewing because it's so popular. More mom and pop shops than ever. Jobs that have appeared out of thin air. Yeah, Pittsburgh shouldn't have the steel yards anymore. We don't need them as much. Inequality isn't inherently bad. I want to stress this, okay? If inequality creates a gap where that person down here is still way better off than if the person up here hadn't created that gap. Let me give you an example of a perfect example of what would create inequality that benefits the lowest common denominator. Dollar stores. Whoever created dollar stores is a billionaire. But they became a billionaire, increasing that inequality gap by providing you with things for $1. A packet of hot dogs that would have cost you $5, $6, $7, you get for $1. You go into a dollar store, these are name, I'm like, this is Oscar Mayer. This is Rockstar Energy. It's not even off-brand. So someone created inequality, became a multimillionaire or billionaire by ensuring that the person with whom they are no longer equal is still doing better than had that inequality gap not been created. So don't just throw around equality and middle class. Do some actual research. Look at the numbers. Things can be good for everyone. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
For breaking news on Louder with Crowder, I'm Perry Matheson. I regretfully inform you that earlier today, Senator Bernie Sanders was in fact mauled by a Komodo dragon, leaving him with nothing left outside of his head and neck. We have an exclusive interview with him on location in Indonesia as he campaigns for more delegates. Senator Sanders, thanks for taking the time.
You haven't seen the last of me, Perry!
Senator Sanders, is it the point where you really should consider dropping out, if only for your health?
I've never felt better, you son of a bitch!
Mr. Sanders, you're merely a head in the jar.
It's not the size of the head in the jar, or whether there's anything else outside of that jar like a torso, or limbs, or anything resembling a body. It's the brain inside that head inside that jar. And I've got the best, and I'm not giving up, America!
Mr. Sanders, please calm down. The shaking of your head jar is making me nervous. Oh, God.
Hatred! People! 1%!
This is just a horrible scene. Let's cut that feed. For the love of God, why don't we have a delay button on this? That is disgusting. We will keep you abreast after I fire my staff and this event unfolds. I'm Perry Matheson. Really, that should not have been on live television.
Love that bump. That is from Psychotic Giraffe, the Guile theme song from Street Fighter. Fantastic.
Good
Glad
stuff.
to be back. Of course, this is Cultural Appropriation Month. We're continuing it with China. Really. Anyway, do we have the guest?
Yep, we got him right here.
Oh, okay. Good. Okay, so for those who weren't listening earlier, we have a guest on, a longtime friend of Jared's, and since we're doing China this week, but he's from Laos. Really,
It's
all
all
of
the
Asia.
same.
China just has better punch to it. Discriminatory, but that's kind of what we do. He has moved to Baltimore. He's an immigrant, so Laotian is how we
from
pronounce
Laos.
it. And now he lives in Baltimore, and he's with us. So Jeffrey, the Laotian from Baltimore, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. I don't agree with everything you say, but I'm a fan. Hey, not gay Jared.
Hey, Jeff.
That's really nice of him. Well, thank you. We don't expect anyone to agree with everything we have to say. So Jared has told me, not gay Jared has talked about you with me. He says you're fed up, just really tired of it. So what's it like? Like, what is a week in Baltimore like today for someone like you?
Oh, man, it's pretty bad. I just saw a guy got shot. I just rushed home from filing police report.
Do you mean like just right now?
Yeah, I just filed police report right now.
We could have rebooked you. You know, I'm so sorry to hear that. You could have come on the show another time.
No, that's that's okay. Compared to the rest of my week, it's not even that bad.
Not that bad. What could possibly have happened this week?
Well, it's not even just my week. It's the whole thing. Living in Baltimore, you know, I'm in the red. I'm hemorrhaging money, you know.
No, I don't know. So explain, why is that the case?
When I first moved here, you know, my mom always teased me that real estate is sound investment. When we came to Baltimore, we thought, hey, how much worse can it be?
Okay, so you mean you moved to Baltimore, you bought some real estate? Yeah,
we bought an apartment complex for $45,000. I think, hey, it can't be any more bad.
Well, that's pretty low. I mean, you're buying pretty low. That's a good price. That would seem like a safe bet. Wait, hold on. Did you buy this property before or after the riots occurred?
Yeah, that's my point exactly. It turns out a lot more bad.
Okay, well, define that. What exactly do you mean?
I buy it for $45,000. Okay, now Steven.
Yeah. Yes.
Guess how much it's worth today?
Okay, I don't know how much.
-$85,000, and I pay cash.
No, not gay, Jared. Jeffrey, how is that even possible?
Yeah, because of all the legal liability with squatters in the apartment, they're doing drugs, and I can't kick them out because of city ordinance.
Okay, I don't know if I'm following this clearly. You own the apartment complex. People are doing drugs in the apartment complex, and legally you can't kick them out?
No, because the city protect their rights. If DeRay become mayor, it's only going to get more bad.
Wait. Oh, is DeRay running for mayor?
Yeah, the gay black guy. He want to run the city.
Okay, I wouldn't phrase it that way, but that is accurate. That's not untrue. Okay, so these people are squatting in your apartment, right? Okay, I understand that. And you can't do anything at all.
No, and that's not even the worst part, if you can believe it.
I'm not entirely sure that I can.
I live on the second floor. We have an even bigger problem of homeless guys shitting on the apartment.
Okay, hold on. First, you can't use that word on air. Okay, I just want to make sure I understand. Maybe this is your first time. Second, you mean you have a problem, I want to get this right, of a homeless person, homeless people defecating in front of
happens.
Yeah,
that happens.
In front of your apartment complex.
No, I mean literally shit on the apartment. We found out homeless guy climbing up the fire escape on the 3rd floor, shitting on the apartment every day.
Okay. You mean he's actually physically on the apartment?
Yeah, start coming in through the roof. We have to redo drywall and crown molding.
That sounds like an excessive amount of volume. If we're.
I miss the day when cleaning the gutter was my biggest problem with Reed.
Okay, all right. We don't want to get too graphic with anything.
This guy was on the apartment.
Okay.
Right on the apartment.
Okay, Jeffrey, you've made it clear. We get it. We don't want to spend too much time on that.
Yeah, the week was even more bad.
Okay, well, let's move on. What do you mean?
Well, I got mugged outside of Walgreens. I tell the guy it's 2016, I had no cash. He steal my Tic Tacs.
You were mugged for Tic Tacs?
Yeah, he take my Tic Tacs.
This man, to be clear, stole your Tic Tacs.
Yeah, he stole my Tic Tacs and drain cleaner. I had to take it back to clean up all the out of the apartment.
Okay, all right. Let's get off of that for a second.
Yeah, so I get home. I'm still hungry. I have no more Tic Tacs. So I try to order a pizza.
Okay, well, that's...
Yeah, only I wait for 4 hours. 4 hours, still no pizza. I call them. I say, hey, where the pizza? They tell me they can't deliver to my zip code because it's a problem area.
Well, oh, yeah, that actually makes sense. That happened in Detroit. We talked about that on the program.
On the video.
We talked about it on the video. Jet's Pizza wouldn't deliver to certain zip codes, specifically because they were known to have very high crime rates.
Yeah, but they say they can't go there because that's the place where the guy on all the apartment.
Okay. Wait, the pizza place knew about this?
Yeah, apparently I'm not the only one. It's been going on a long time. I called a landlord next door. He's on so many apartments, they have his picture on the wall.
First off, language, please. But they actually have his physical picture on a wall?
Yeah, apparently one time he had a few too many. He took direct aim on the guy from Jimmy John's in the vestibule, ruined it for the rest of us. Always on the apartment.
Okay, all right, Jeffrey. We need you to get off of this because Not Gay Jared is going to have his work cut out for him.
Okay, thanks for having me on. Hey, if anybody out there want to buy some real estate, I have a real good price for you.
No, Jeffrey, we didn't necessarily agree on a plug, and I don't even know that we're allowed to do that in this context.
Okay, sorry. Hey, you know who I wish was Prug? The guy whose ass is shit on all the apartments.
Okay, Jeffrey, we have to let you go. Thank you, Not Gay Jared. That's the last time we go on your suggestion for a guest.
That's my bad. I should have warned him. Or warned you.
Do your due diligence.
My bad.
Oh, I don't like when these people get through. Was that 30 seconds? Do we have a break?
Yeah,
So
30
it's,
seconds.
Then we're going to have Courtney Kirchhoff after, right?
That's true.
She's going to update us. Is she talking about the specifically California and the Second Amendment?
Yep, Second Amendment, the
Okay.
district ruling and all that good stuff.
Gosh, people love Courtney, but they're mean when strong feminists get really mad when actual strong women come on the
strong
program. So the hate mail is fun. Louder with Crowder. Courtney Kirchhoff after this.
Welcome to Wild at Large on the Nature Network, narrated by Jasper Prunk. Oh, the Burmese python, a creature to be marveled, just as much as it is to be feared. Unlike many snakes who bite their prey, injecting a deadly neurotoxin, the Burmese python dances death in a much more skillful and beautiful manner as she coaxes them into her domain. And gradually, as she gains her grip and maintains it in a deathful squeeze, eradicating the prey of all life. That sounds mighty familiar to me. That's just like my ex-wife.
Damn it, Jasper.
Now, I know, I'm just saying there's a lot of similarities between the Burmese python and all forms of constrictors. I'm sure we'll talk about the anacondas. And horrible ex-wives who take you for everything you're worth.
I'm sorry it happened to you, Jasper. We got a job to do. Let's do the lines.
Oh, believe me, I know we've got a job to do, because we'll both do this job, and I'm the only one who gets to take home half.
Jasper, for the love of God, do the lines.
No, I know, you want to rush me out of here so you can clock out early. God forbid you have to put in overtime, but let me tell you something. This is important to me. My work here is all I have, okay? I will work here all day. The ex-wife gets half. She's living in with another man who I get to pay for because they choose not to get married and live under Uncle Sam none the wiser. And the highlight of my day, the only company that I even get to keep as a godforsaken director like you who doesn't even care with the pain I'm going through. That's my life. I'm going to go home to an empty fridge with maybe a couple of Coors banquets and a cat with feline AIDS. It's a wonder that you don't find me with a noose around my neck and my pants around my ankles. So you're going to sit there and listen to what I have to say. The Burmese python is an insufferable bitch. And ex-wives, if you're listening, don't you get married. Don't you ever get married. Stay tuned for more Wild at Large on the Nature Network, narrated by Jasper Prunk.
Love that song, but we have to go into another song because we have our guest on only for one segment, but it's a long segment. We love her. She's the best writer we have over at louderwithcrowder.com. So, when you hear this... Okay, there we go. We don't want to get copyright because we're conservative. That means that it is, you can follow her at Courtney Scoffs. Courtney Kirchhoff, thank you for being with us.
Thank you.
Oh,
Thank you for having me on.
Look at you. You're looking like you're going out for an evening on the town.
No. The sun's been out.
No.
Why aren't you in your pajamas, sweetheart? You got a boy. You're cute boys. You want to impress, you know. We just figured we'd introduce it with sexism. But you're looking good. Okay. And so the reason I say that is because I'm slightly worried because you will get creepy emails. Just don't look.
I do it because you had Lena Dunham on earlier, and I wanted to kind of provide some balance.
Class it up.
She wanted to provide some contrast. Well, in that case, pajamas still would have
been sufficient.
So, Courtney,
just combing my hair would have been enough.
It's true. Do you think she's deliberately? Is it one of those things with Lena Dunham? And then we'll get into why you're on the program. When I take my license pictures, I take them like like this, or I do something silly because my justification is like, well, I never take good pictures, so I looked stupid on purpose. Do you think that's what Lena Dunham is doing, but always?
Yes, I think that's what most feminists do, actually. Is they know they're unattractive, and so they push the envelope and they say, I'm purposefully looking this way. So it's kind of one of those things, even in art or design, if you tilt something, you want to make sure that it's super tilted so people know that it's on purpose. So I think, yeah, she's doing that. She's being ugly. Well, she doesn't have a choice, but now she's like, now I'm owning the ugly.
So she's because she is truly ugly inside and out, she's cutting it off at the ugly pass.
It's almost like self-deprecating. So, I mean, you can't call her out, you're so ugly, because she is, and she's embraced it.
Right. No,
She's
that's
owning
true.
it.
That's true. It's kind of like with comedy. You make fun of yourself, you wear it as armor. Only the difference is that, but she's just unattractive, and there's no other way to say it. It's just all around, like,
It looks like a thumb.
She's doing herself no favors.
Like a really big, flabby thumb.
She's not doing herself any
with
favors.
with a hangnail and the little like cuticle problems. Okay, so
Yes.
Courtney, what is
Yes.
on your mind? Did you want to talk specifically about the Hillary Clinton Second Amendment? Because I know you write so much on the site. That just happened here recently. What's most on your mind?
Well, what's happening in California with the Ninth Circuit, also
Right.
known as the Ninth Circus Court?
I see what you
because
did
they're-
there.
Hashtag
Yeah, you
that.
see what I-
Hashtag
I'm
that.
pretty sure, I'm pretty sure Rush Limbaugh. I'm pretty sure that's a Limbaughtism.
Oh,
Yeah, so they just. I'm sorry, my dog is playing with
that's
the ball.
okay.
We thought you tooted.
Stop it, not gay, Jared. This is a nice lady. Stop.
Squeaky toot.
Okay, get back to talking about serious legal issues. Not gay, Jared. You are certainly
I
fired.
would have mute myself. Self-censorship over here.
Okay.
Go at
So
it.
the Ninth Circuit just ruled that you don't have a constitutional right to conceal carry a firearm. They say that the Second Amendment doesn't account for that at all. Having read the Second Amendment more than once, it doesn't say where you can carry a gun. It doesn't say when you can't carry a gun. It doesn't even say the word gun. So they're a very liberal court, and they're incrementally trying to take away gun rights. So when
Yes.
people, when we say, oh, they're coming for your guns, and the left is like, you guys are being really paranoid. No, we're not. Yes, actually.
Yes. Yes, exactly.
Here's my rebuttal. Yes.
Well, you know what's funny about that? I was listening to one. I don't want to call him out, but I know exactly who it was. It was on some radio show, and some conservative who I really tend to respect. They said like, "Oh, a liberal was there saying, oh, so you think Obama's going to try and take your guns away?" He said, "Yes." He's like, "Okay, name one thing. Name one thing that Obama has done." And the guy didn't. He was like, "Well, he would if he could, right?" That's what. But the guy didn't answer with specifics. And I was just thinking, well, okay, right away, the 223, the AR-15 ammo ban that was attempted, it just wasn't pushed through. They tried to ban one of the most popular ammos in the country, and it didn't happen. Right away, trying to appoint justices with this Supreme Court ruling to rule that you do not have the right to keep and bear arms. Right away, with trying to put limitations on capacities, all like tangible things. And I think a lot of conservatives aren't armed with the facts to come back. So they sound ignorant, just like, well, Obama just wants to take guns away. But these are tangible examples. And it's important that people educate themselves on that. Like you said, the Second Amendment says arms. That includes a lot more than firearms.
Yeah, and you've done several videos about this. It's the First Amendment doesn't say, you can only use free speech on parchment paper with an inkwell and, a little pen. The First
Quill is the
Amendment
word you were
applies-
looking for.
A quill, thank you.
Yes.
I have to revoke my smart card now.
Also, the whole title of a horrible film with Kate Winslet and Michael Caine.
Oh,
Quills.
woof.
Okay, go ahead.
That is a terrible name for a film.
Yes.
Quill.
Quills,
Anyway.
I think it was. I could be wrong.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
The First Amendment applies to blogs and it applies to iPhones. We know that it's freedom of speech. There's nothing that says, well, unless the computers evolve and people can spew whatever they want on the internet, that the founding fathers were very specific in their vagueness. They allowed for systems to evolve. So yeah, firearms. And it doesn't say you can't have them when you're with you. Danger happens everywhere. Danger doesn't just happen in your home. So at what point is the Ninth Circuit going to say, well, the Second Amendment doesn't say anything about you having firearms in your home, doesn't say anything about you having firearms out in public. So we're going to have to regulate that.
Right.
We're not saying that you can't keep your firearms. We're just going to regulate where you can have them.
Right.
Which is what they're doing with religion as well. It's what they're doing with freedom of speech. They're saying, well, you can have your freedom of religion, but just at your church. don't you dare bring it into your bakery.
Right. Well, isn't it interesting, too, that they love to use the sort of, well, take it in its historical context for ammo capacity and muskets, but not when it comes to the reason why a lot of them wouldn't have carried said giant muskets around. Now they ignore that. It's like, well, they didn't carry them
because they try to argue from a historical perspective, like why these things,
right.
Historically
they didn't have the
never
capacity. They had
carry.
muskets. Well, it would be really hard to carry a musket around. And right away, if you look at the old, the history of like the Navy revolver and what people, they took them across the country and they had them open at their hip wherever they went, all the time. It wasn't even an issue. So there's a long line of history of people bringing guns with them once they were portable. Now, Courtney, we don't ever want to get into how many guns, but it's no secret, right? You've tweeted you have an AR-15, correct?
I do. I have a scary black rifle.
Yes, you do. And
I love it. I've named it my precious.
Good Lord. This is a disturbed woman. I don't know if I should still have her under my employment. But I dig it. You're a cool cat, and I dig that about you. And you're violent.
I love violence.
Do you fire it often?
I had it out a couple of weeks ago, and I'm really excited to get it out again. I buy my ammo in bulk. I will probably be buying more of it thanks to this new ruling and Hillary.
Well, they actively, you know that, right? They actively tried to ban AR-15 ammo.
Yeah, 5.56.
Well, the 5.56.
Yeah,
I thought it was 223.
223, 5.56, same thing.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
As I understand.
Yeah, and that's exactly how they would do it. They would say, well, you can have your guns, but we're just gonna make ammo unavailable.
Right.
Or we're going to tax it to the point where you can't afford it. There's nothing also in the Constitution that says they can't do that. So that's how they would do it. And one of the judges who dissented from this Ninth Circuit ruling said, look, if we keep incrementing these regulations.
Courtney.
I know.
Your deal. You didn't find quill ink. The weird thing is, I know that's not a word. So I know I'm going to get texts from you afterwards like, I can't believe I said it. I want to kill a baby.
It's because I'm speaking it and I'm not typing it, and the little red underline isn't going to come up and say, that's not a word, dummy.
No little paperclip's going to come up and say, Courtney, you had a stroke.
The word quill?
Quill? Were you trying to spell quite an idiot, which you are?
Right.
Remember that paperclip? Am I the only one?
I know exactly what you're talking about.
What was he called?
Jerk.
I don't remember. There was also
Jerk.
Gonzo, the little purple gorilla that was like your personal web browsing assistant. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Continue with what you were talking. But you're right.
Anyway, yeah, one of the dissenting judges says there's going to be no point in having our rights, the Bill of Rights, if we keep pushing the limits and over-regulating. What's going to be the point to even having them? And she's right. So.
Well, let me say this, because I've talked about this, and after, Brad Thor said something that was so uncontroversial and people got mad like it was a death threat. Let me make something concrete, a statement that can be directly interpreted as violence. Courtney and I talked about this off air, at Courtney Scoffs, again, follow her. Or we said, we were talking about the Bundy Ranch, and we were saying, well, what really, we act as though like, well, this is crazy. And I do think sometimes people take it too far, but what would it take for me to actually be a part of an armed insurrection? Like, at what point do you say, okay, that is getting to, it's coming to blows, gun time? And I said this, and Courtney agreed. I don't know if not Gay Jared agrees. I said, not an ammo ban in it, but if, and this has happened in many countries, if at any point they actually come to take already owned firearms away, I will say on air, at that point, that is a line in the sand. And I think if they're coming for your weapons, not banning, not being able to sell them in stores, but if they're coming into your house to take your weapons, that's when it actually comes to violent revolution. Am I out of line?
I don't think so.
Well, I remember we were talking about that because I asked, okay, like at what point is it too far? Because are we ever going to get to a point where they say, well, we're going to take all your guns? Or is it going to be more slowly?
Right.
So what happened with the thing in Oregon, I mean, it was a while ago, so I can't remember all the details. But yeah, these two guys were just being plowed by the federal government. And whatever you want to say about the Bundys, maybe they were doing it as being opportunistic with it, which is probably what they were doing.
Right.
But their point still stood. This was the government.
And to be clear, they weren't getting violent. They weren't
getting violent.
No, but I'm saying for me, if they come in, for me, my point is if they ever at any point start going into houses and taking already owned firearms, that to me is nope, you don't get to do it. And that has happened in plenty of countries in the recent realm of human history. So I want to be clear when people say like, well, no, I'm not, there's no gray area. If they come for guns, I think that's appropriate fire back time. tweet us at S. Crowder if you think I'm wrong. Is it Jared? Not gay Jared? Would you say so?
Yeah, that's a huge line to cross at that point. I mean, that's irreparable.
It's something everyone needs to think about because we're heading in that direction.
I don't think we're there yet as far as I'm taking.
We're not there yet, but we're marching down the path.
Yes. And like an ammo ban, no. Capacity, bullet button, no. Of course not. Taking already bought firearms from your homes. I think that, for me, that was where I answered the question in my head. There might be some other things, but, and I think a lot of people would say that.
Yeah, and the Democrats need to be careful because I know a couple, they're extremely liberal. They have a transgender, I guess, son who thinks he's a girl. And they're just... Sorry.
Transgender thing.
Stop it.
He wants to be referred to as they, okay?
Okay.
So, but they have guns. They're huge gun nuts. And we're talking as far left as they come. So this is not just a liberal conservative issue. Right. Americans love their guns.
Well, no.
Try and take them away and we're not going to be happy about it.
Yes.
We're a country because we have guns.
Yeah, well, it's a very different history. A lot of times people don't understand that in Canada, that bent over for the king, where I was raised, or in the UK, where you can be arrested for singing Kung Fu Fighting. You know, a big fail-safe for that is a bunch of people on every corner with firearms. It's just people don't want to acknowledge it, but that's reality, and we're safer with lower crime than ever, with higher gun ownership than ever. I mean, it's one of those pretty cut and dry issues, freedom, tyranny. Courtney, we have to let you go. Do you have any 10 seconds for closing thoughts, or just your plug?
Oh, well, I would say, the Democrats are always talking about how much they love democracy and votes, but look at all these rulings that they celebrate. They don't come from the ballot box at all. That includes abortion, that includes guns, that includes gay marriage. So they're all about the votes and democracy, but they're not.
Good.
They love the rule from the court.
Good point. At Courtney Scoffs. Brilliant lady. Thank you so much, Courtney. Louder with Crowder. People always like this lady. She looks lovely, and she's smart. Jared, get her off camera. She needs to part gracefully. Good Lord. Well, we're going to come back after this break and wrap up the whole show in a nice bow. Thank you for being here. Whoa, Jared, what are you doing?
Shoot bad guys.
With what?
My AR-15.
Where'd you get it?
AR-15.com.
Oh, there's another one. You got him.
Yeah.
Thank God for AR-15.com. They have AR-15 and accessories for sale and the best advice there is on the web. Oh, no, there's another one. You got him.
Yeah.
With your what?
AR-15.
From where?
AR-15.com.
That's the best place to go, and that's the takeaway because this commercial's about to stop. Glad to be back.
You doing okay over there?
Doing okay, just drowning in facts and information.
Facts, information, good
from
stuff.
From the Courtney,
entertainment.
From the Courtney entertainment. That's what's most important. We have to issue a correction, and not get you have to apologize on air. From Cody Chaos, 223 and 5.56 are not the same bullets. Not the same bullet. Much more powder and pressure.
Oh, there you go.
5.6.
But I think they both fit in the AR-15. I apologize.
Yeah, but you can have different uppers and lowers. They're not
Sure.
the same. You can get them in either or. That's like 357 Magnum or 38 Special. It's not at all the same. Nage Jared apologizes. He will be docked.
That's fair.
And fired.
That's fair.
Oh, what did I think? What did I say? Someone. Oh, no, never mind. I was talking about Courtney. Okay, so that is Some people have actually gone further and said violent revolution. We tossed it on Twitter, @SCrowder. Someone said ammo ban. Your rifle is worthless without it, so it's the same as taking guns. I don't think so. I think that it is much more invasive for someone to go into your house and take your guns. Someone else answered, if this is, again, a question I've tossed to people, at what point is violent revolution appropriate, if at all? Genuine question. If the military and cops actually follow unconstitutional laws, restricting the Second Amendment, that's when. That's interesting. I think that you're going to have, and this is the problem with the gun issue, you can do all of this through the courts, and you want to talk about a separation, people who become out of touch. If Hillary Clinton becomes president, firearms right now are the biggest winning issue in America. Like I said, it's the one issue where Democrats will break ranks. Let me tell you why. Here's what's beautiful about the Second Amendment. All it takes when Hillary Clinton or Barack Obama go on air and say, you can get a gun without a background check, all it takes for the person watching them to say bullcrap is for them to have ever purchased a gun. Ever. And there are more people purchasing guns than in the history of men. That's all it takes. Now, you can get a gun without so much as a background check. You can get it faster than you can get a cheeseburger. Someone who's ever bought a gun goes, bullcrap. Bullcrap, because they've all gone through a background check. More people have bought firearms than ever. So it's just too easy to disprove at this point. It's just too easy for people to not believe. So the only way they can do it, and that was a brilliant point that Courtney brought up, the only way they can do it is forcing it through the courts. It's the only way. It's the one issue where, gay marriage, they may convince people. Now it may go back a little bit because the trans overreach. Second Amendment firearms will consistently and only grow in popularity. It is the biggest losing issue for Democrats, period, bar none. So they have to force it through the courts. Executive actions, banning your ammo. So the reason why it's so important, and I'm not necessarily a firearm enthusiast. I like going to the shooting range. I'm not somebody who knows a whole bunch and builds guns from scratch, nothing like that. But I'm more of a Second Amendment activist. The reason it's such a pivotal point is because there is no more clear of a line of tyranny than the Second Amendment, especially when it's written in the Constitution very clearly. We have a long line of history, legal precedent, rulings to say people have the right to bear arms, and then you have an administration saying, nope, all of them are wrong, and we're going to force it through. Or a panel of a few judges, or a Hillary Clinton. There is no more clear example of tyranny than the Second Amendment issue. So that's why I think it's important. And that's why I think if someone gets invasive in taking your firearms, I do. I'm willing to put my name and my reputation on the line. This makes it to HuffPo. If this makes it to Media Matters, great. Where they say, Stephen threatens violence against the government. No, I'm not. If the government sends in people to take my firearms on my property, yes. That is the point. And I think most Americans would say, there you are. There's another civil war. Here's the thing. That can't, it's very unlikely to happen. There are too many police officers who wouldn't do it. Too many members of the National Guard or the military who would not do that. I don't think they would follow those orders. And that's why I think that can get so ugly. And that's why I think they're trying to slowly do this with, and a lot of you probably didn't know about the AR-15 ammo ban. Mm-hmm. When people say, well, what have they done? They have attempted so many things concretely, and we've documented them repeatedly at louderwithcrowder.com, that I'm amazed when conservative hosts, you have a lot of conservatives out there, activists who've never owned a gun or never shot a firearm. Now, you don't have to, but it is amazing to me. One thing I see a lot is I see a lot of other conservative hosts, and this is where probably me and the Trump people would find a lot of common ground as far as the elitism. They're writing for these think tanks or publications, or they're on these hosts with these big networks where they like to claim that they're more thought-provoking just because they happen to unify with liberals who don't support anything they believe in. Listen, we have civil dialogue on this show, but I never lie about the fact like, oh yeah, Zach Ford is on, and you know what, we agree on more. No, we don't agree on anything. We don't agree on anything. The right and the left don't want the same things. Look at the Second Amendment. Listen, I think that people on the Cruz side, whether it's Rubio, most people on the Trump side, some of them not, but the biggest contingency of Trump voters, they want the same things. Right? The different factions of the right, of conservative, libertarian, anti-atheist, we want the same things with different approaches, different strategies. The right and the left do not want the same things. There is no unity with me and Hillary Clinton ideologically. We don't want the same things. We don't both want freedom. We don't both want the preservation of Constitution and the original intent in rule of law in this country. We don't want the same things. So I'm not going to lie to you and, gee whiz, guys, let's get along. No, I don't want the same things as Mark Zuckerberg. Doesn't mean I won't have him on and treat him respectfully, like the imam who called for my death or Zach Ford. But make no mistake, we do not want the same things. There is no common ground with those people. So just because we're nice on this program and civil, I want people to understand. We hold their feet to the fire. If you watch what we do on this program, we're not nice to these people. We don't toss softballs. And it's not a screaming match because it's more productive to showcase why we don't want the same things. So it's important for you to see that. There has never been more of a diametric opposition to the American people, the will of the American people, specifically where the American people are right on a constitutional issue like the Second Amendment. Sometimes the will of the people is wrong. I want free education. I want free. Well, that's not right. That's not the Constitution. But in this case, the will of the people is right because it's ingrained into the Constitution. So the will of the people is 100% correct, in line with the Founding Fathers' original intent, the Constitution, and you have governments usurping it. That is big. That's why it's such a big issue. And that's why you need to ask yourself these questions. Are we beyond human nature of any kind of an armed insurrection at any point? When do you cross that line? What is tyranny? Ask yourselves those questions. If not only to be prepared, but just to think critically. Hope we help you. Louder with Crowder. See you next week.